Okay. There we go. Okay, good evening, everyone. It is exactly 5:03, and I'd like to call the meeting of the Indio City Council and Water Authority to order at 5:03. May I have roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller. Present. Councilmember Huitron. Present. Councilmember Ortiz.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Furman. Present. And Mayor Holmes.
Present. Thank you. And now we have a very special guest to do the invocation, Mr. Rajan Zed. He is the president of Universal Society of Hinduism.
Starting with Gayatri Mantra, which is considered the most sacred mantra of Hinduism, I shall be reading from ancient Hindu scriptures, some as old as 1500 BCE, and then interpret in English. Om Bhurvubah Swah Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. We meditate on the transcendental glory of the Deity Supreme, who is inside the heart of the earth, inside the life of the sky, and inside the soul of the heaven. May He stimulate and illuminate our minds. Astoma Sadgamya Tamsoma Jyotirgamya Mrityur Mamratam Gamya. Lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, lead us from death to immortality. Tasmada Sakta Statam Karyam Karma Samachara Asakto Hyacharan Karma Parmapnoti Purusha Karma Neva Hisam Siddhi Mastita Jankadya Loka Sangraha Mevapi Sampa Shankar Tumrahasi. Strive constantly to serve the welfare of the world by devotion to selfless. One attain the supreme goal of life. Do your work with the welfare of others always in mind. Om Saha Nabhavatu, Saha No Bhunaktu, Saha Viryan Karba Bahai, Tejasvi Nava Ditamastu, Ma Vidvisa Bahai. May we be protected together, may we be nourished together, may we work together with great vigor, may our study be enlightening, may no obstacle arise between us. Samni va kuti, samna hirdhyani va, samna mastu va mano, yatha va susa hasti. United your resolve, united your hearts, may your spirits be at one, that you may long together dwell in unity and concord. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Om. Thank you.
Allegiance, Jacob Frias. Okay, thank you very, very much. And we have Jacob Frias here to do the Pledge of Allegiance. And let me tell you a little bit about Jacob Frias from Roosevelt Elementary. Jacob is a fifth grade student at Theodore Roosevelt Elementary School. He enjoys playing soccer and going to the movies. In his free time, Jacob likes spending time with his family, especially playing video games with his older brother and cousins. It sounds like fun to me. Go ahead.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. And stay right there. And take a picture, and we have a swag bag for you. All right, let's see, what do you have? City Attorney, report on closed session, please.
Thank you, council. There is no reportable action out of today's closed session.
All right, let me get everything going here. There's a way to do this, and I don't know, so we'll use paper when all else fails. So, next item is presentations. And presentation by Assemblymember Gonzalez's office to the Indio Youth Advisory. Is that person here? I'm sorry, oh no. Okay, we may have to reschedule. Next item on the agenda is Youth Advisory Council. Why does this not work?
Good evening, Mayor Holmes and council members. My name is Layla Gonzalez, and I am a member of the Indio Youth Advisory Council. On Monday, we attended the Youth Town Hall event where Brett Baer talked about his experiences as an American journalist and the chief political anchor for Fox. It was a great event where we connected with like-minded students from across the valley. Last month, 2 of us had the opportunity to job shadow for the city's Indio Water Authority and Community Service Department, learning about the ins and outs of what makes our city run smoothly. 2 more of our members are looking forward to experiencing this great opportunity within the next week as well. Prior to our most recent meetings, we did our street cleanup of Avenue 46, where we picked up 2 trash bags worth of garbage. Looking ahead, we will be volunteering at the Black History Month event and are looking forward to giving out our Valentine's care packages to seniors at Christianis Apartments. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you very, very much. That's great, thank you for all you do, Team Indio, for our community. Thank you very much. Next item is City Council Conflict of Interest Disclosure. Does anybody have any conflict of interest? I do, and it is 11.11. So I will recuse myself for that, and Mayor Pro Tem will. City Manager report, we can't forget that. Thank you. City Manager reports.
Thank you, Mayor. I was only going to remind our wonderful residents to continue to support our events downtown. Food Truck Fridays, every Friday here. Exciting event this week with some special guests from Major League Soccer will be here with us from CVI. Our Mercado Indio that takes place on Saturdays and then Saturday mornings. And then this Saturday from 12 to 5, as mentioned, we have our Black History Month event, celebration at Center Stage. So please continue to come downtown. Thank you, Mayor.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you very much. Item number 10. We'll go to item number 9 first. City Council report on meetings attended per Government Code Section 532.32.3D. Sorry, Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Only one of my committees was active. It was Sunline Transit Agency. They were looking at the basics this week, looking at the audit. They had a clean audit for all the funding they get from the federal and state. They have to go back and go through it. Over about $25 million came in from federal and state agencies that they had to look at and got a clean audit for that. But the one thing that we were really looking at is reimagined the routes. Indio, they have a survey that's coming up, and Indio's number 2 now. The city of Palm Springs has like 269. We have 162 people that have taken a survey. It's really a chance for our residents and anybody that uses the bus to be able to kind of decide how the bus routes are going to be lined up and how they're going to be able to be utilized. Every student that's a high school student, and I believe middle school too, can ride the bus free anywhere. And that includes not just to school, to work, anywhere they need to go. It gives them a free opportunity. The only way they can do those routes is by where people want them to go. So they're going to go off of what these surveys are, and it makes me worried about only 160-some people in Indio, largest city, only having a couple of surveys on it. So if we really want to look at how the routes go, are they going to be quicker routes? Would they like less times but longer routes where they go all the way from like Indio to Palm Springs without stopping, or one stop? Or do you want to stop more frequently and get picked up more often? That's all going to be part of this survey. And so once we get that in, they're going to put that in, and it'll be in for about 5 years. There'll be chances to change it, but really, this is really going to redo the routes throughout all of the Coachella Valley. So something we really need to look at and make sure that we're getting our voice heard. So that's one. A couple other things we did. I was able to go to the Coachella Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District. I hadn't been there in quite a while. I got a tour by our our chairman of the board, Ben Gutrana, very own, and Jeremy Witten, who is their general manager. If you haven't seen the mosquito and vector control board and the work they're doing, it's amazing. The drones they have now that are able to spray, the technology they have their own laboratories. They have a zapping machine to sterilize mosquitoes so they can put them back out. I mean, it's really high tech on what they're doing there, let alone the fire ants and everything else they do. And it's right here in the city of Indio. You wouldn't even know the work that they're doing, but they do great work. And it was eye-opening to see the kind of laboratory, the kind of not only equipment they're using now, but how much more efficient it is and abilities. So my hat's off to you, Mr. Gutron, and the rest of the team there. And then we had a couple of ribbon cuttings. The one I liked was Sumu Dog 2. I think we were all there for that. Another great addition to the city of Indio. Obviously believed highly enough in us. Not only did he have one, but he has 2 in the city, and a little bit different menu because he's right next to Raising Cane and In-N-Out Burgers, but amazing hot dogs and amazing operations. So we want to thank them. And then lastly, we had the cleanup. Want to thank Mr. Montgomery and all the team that was out there. We cleaned up a Riverside Drive area that's over there off of Riverdale, right off of the area of Dr. Carrion and that. And so, or not Dr. Carrion, Fred Waring and Clinton. And a lot of trash that was there picked up, took a lot of stuff away from individuals. I think when those people are out there and they saw us being able to take away all the bigger stuff, I think that was eye-opening to them. There was refrigerators and everything else that went out there. So a good cleanup, and hats off to everybody that's involved in that, and our Youth Advisory Council and everyone else that helped out. And you too, Madam Mayor. With that, that ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
And how our public safety building phase 2 is doing for the headquarters. Things are moving right along. It's really nice to have a cohesive team. And really, it's an important part for the police department with this building because it's basically the operations of our city police department records. And the most important thing is all the field personnel. And it's nice to hear that things have gone out to bid, like for the electrical and groundwork to be done. And I guess the other news would be is that if everything works well, you'll start seeing groundbreaking being done in May. And so, and I know the chief and the staff are all pretty excited about that. And that'll, hopefully when that's done, that'll complete Councilman Waven's dream of having a campus that's complete, because he'd been talking about that for a while. So I think that's good to report. On Tuesday, January 28th, I had the privilege with Councilman Oscar Ortiz to sit down, and there's going to be a little bit of an update that I've asked for. I want to give Ruby and her team, our directors, done a really good job. Very informative. The investments and everything that's going on, it's kind of, with the way times are, I feel confident that we're doing well. But I think it's important enough to know that because people are seeing a lot of movement in our city, a lot of things that are going on all at once. And it's nice to know that we're sound. And so that's good to report. Friday, January 30th, I had the privilege to be invited to the establishment of the Riverside County Fair Day Festival Foundation. I was asked to be part of the board, and we took action on January 30th. Curtis Pickering and members of the farming community that are part of that, it'll be the purpose to find ways to find funds to keep that fair. The first thing is the livestock. They've lost their connection of the nonprofit that was assisting our young future farmers and anything in the agricultural related environment, which is a big plus for us in the southern end of our valley, and all this youth that's interested in ag and everything about it. Their sales that they do, they needed the mechanism, so the nonprofit is going to be able to assist to take place what was once there. A lot of improvements are being done. What I was amazed to find out, a lot of the funds that are raised through the livestock sales, besides those that have raised their animals for that, a lot of that money is being reinvested into the barn where all the livestock is at. So, and more to come. There's other things that we want to do, but I'm going to do my part to make sure Indio has his plate because it's in our home, is the National Day Festival. Other than that, that's all I have to report.
My favorite part of the fair is that in having the FFA kids that raise their animals go through that whole process, I think is absolutely, it's a wonderful experience for them, and it's the best part of the fair. I jumped in front of you, Councilmember Ortiz. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. This morning I took a tour of the South Sac Health and Loma Linda Healthcare Facility here in downtown Indio. I was glad to see all the amazing services that they're providing for our families for their healthcare needs. A lot of their work is tailored to make the health visits more welcoming to kids, which is also great to see. They also offer services to patients with what they call complex health issues, where they have many health issues happening at the same time, which can take up a lot of their time and also be complicated to navigate through all the different appointments and healthcare systems. I did learn that many of their patients are Medi-Cal patients or those who may be uninsured, and I thank them for their help in supporting our local families navigate through what can be a tough healthcare system today. Earlier today, I also met with Councilmember Furman and our partners at Desert Sands Unified School District. We talked about current efforts to deal with the issues of traffic during drop-off and pickup times, as well as immigration enforcement impacting learning, attendance, and revenues at our local schools. They also talked about the recent bond measure they passed for $675 million to begin some modernization projects of our schools, which will be starting soon and ongoing during the next decade. I also attended the investment committee, which Councilmember Withron mentioned, with our finance director, Ruby Walla. We have a great team helping us at Chandler Asset Management, as Mr. Withron mentioned, and they gave us a really thorough presentation on what they're doing on the back end with our investments to make sure that we have some financial stability through a somewhat turbulent economic time. I do have one request for council. I've been thinking about the large projects we've been able to accomplish and the ones that are still on their way, including the 2 overpasses that are coming up for us that will be well over $100 million. I would like us to consider taking steps to make sure those projects are leading to local jobs and benefiting our local economy. We're currently paying prevailing wages for these types of projects, and I hope to ensure more of those prevailing wage jobs go to our Indio and Coachella Valley residents. For prevailing wage, we do have a consulting firm that monitors our projects to ensure these wages are paid, and they are one of the best in the state, but there are still ways around the system. In the past few years, I have known people personally who have been hired at lower wages or subcontracted under faulty paperwork, and the prevailing wages we pay as taxpayers are not always making their way down to our workers. And so what I would like to request is an agenda item or study session led by either our staff or our building trades to look at the potential benefits we can include during our bidding process to make sure these good jobs are going to local workers as much as possible, and to make sure the prevailing wages we pay as a city are getting to those workers through community workforce agreements. That's all I have. Thanks.
Absolutely, yes. Rest of council, what do you think? I think we all probably, yeah. Agree.
Absolutely.
City manager, what is the best way to accomplish that?
I think we could bring back a report as an agenda item, and if you felt like we need a little more discussion, then you could call for a study session perhaps at another time. Mentioned by the council member, there is a lot of review already done, and we could report that, and then you could direct us on anything further.
Okay, sound good?
Yeah, if we could include some examples like local cities that have been implementing some of those workforce agreements recently, and any studies that they've done as well, I think that'd be good.
I think my
for our
understanding, the city of Riverside or the city of Corona has done that.
Yeah, I think Moreno Valley's recently done
Yes,
that.
the same thing.
In Riverside, I believe one of the school systems, and then Lancaster also had some deals go through, and they actually did a financial study after theirs that is available as well.
Taught me is the locals that are in that livelihood can stay within their areas of home instead of getting people from Northern California and Southern California that are traveling hours, but they obviously earn their wages, but they take it back to where they live.
Right.
We're here, just leaving it here.
But isn't there something, Stephen, isn't there something that we have to follow federal law on certain things, on certain grants that go out and contracts that are
Yeah, so-
set in stone?
So you're talking about Davis-Bacon. I mean, there are both federal and state requirements for a lot of projects. Generally, the more stringent requirement prevails. And so you're correct. When we are using federal funds, we have to do both, but that can be part of the review.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I think we all want local
Yeah.
preference, every single one of
Coming
us.
down, so,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
All right, thanks.
Any further reports? No, you're good. Mayor Pro Tem.
All right. Good evening. I had mentioned earlier I had a 2x2 meeting today with Desert Sands Unified School District. Thank you to board members Mike Duran and Linda Poorhouse and Assistant Superintendent Jordan Aquino for meeting with us today. And we had a lot of very good, thorough conversation, but I want to touch on one thing, actually two, and one is traffic that we discussed. And, over the last couple of years working with our police department, we've done a really good job of mitigating some of the concerns and issues that we have out there. Is anything perfect? It probably never will be, but, we move as we need to. So, we did get some requests for some more visibility, but the chief mentioned even our graveyard officers, they stay over to monitor until kids are in school and work alongside the day shift to make sure it's safe around our school. So I was happy to hear that. We're working on some improvements at Van Buren School. There's been some concerns there with speeding, so the chief mentioned that he's going to look into that. But one thing I want to commend our police department on is the safety presentations to the students and being really active as the SROs at the schools. So that engagement has been good. And, I think we've seen a drop in incidents around schools. And so that's really good to hear. We also talked about immigration enforcement around our community, and the school district's number one priority is to keep our students safe, and they follow the law as is. And so once those children are on campus, they are safe from any enforcement. And also, I spoke to them about some of the misinformation that's been going out about cameras and plate readers that are out there. We do not work with any kind of federal enforcement with the data that we collect or use for any of our cameras around town. So it's important that we put that out there, because a lot of times, and I'm guilty of it, sometimes we think that people know what's going on in our brain, right? So I might know that we're not doing something, but that doesn't mean the community is. So I want to reinforce that as we move along. And there's things that we've said before that we are bringing back out there. So with that being said, I want to commend our chief and our mayor for stepping out there on social media and ensuring the public we hear them and their voice matters. And our job is to keep everyone in the city of Indio safe, and we represent all of them. So thank them for doing that. I also attended a couple of ribbon cuttings as well. Sumo Dog, second Sumo Dog in our city of Indio. It's also a drive-through. It's north of the freeway over by Cane's and In-N-Out. I attended that one. That was great. They live in town, and they plan to open a lot more. And so I know the kids love Sumo Dog, so hope to see you guys all there. We also had another ribbon cut-in. Myself and the mayor attended. It was Taquiera El Guero. Did I get it right?
Guero.
You right?
Guero.
Right.
We've been practicing
We've been practicing it. Right? But it's another location. It's located at in the Cardenas Shopping Center on Highway 111. And, they have other locations in the valley. They have a really good reputation. It's family-owned business. The manager of this one is in his early 20s, right? So young guy, he's managing this business. And we're going to get to the point to where we're going to have a little taco festival or some competition, because I heard they have really good tacos there. So, welcoming another business in the city of Indio. And like I said, we've done a lot of things to be business friendly in our city. And the 7.5, 8 years I've been here, we really streamlined the processes for our businesses, and our staff has gone above and beyond to get their doors open and work with them through that process. So our city manager, I commend you and your staff on getting these doors open in these businesses. And I'm getting calls from everywhere, and they're saying, man, you guys had another ribbon cut? And I said, well, I had 2 today. And so, but it's teamwork, so I appreciate that. And I spoke on it a little earlier, but I'll continue. I met with students outside of our city hall during demonstrations that they had, and I want to just commend Principal Rodriguez at Indio High School, Dr. Dunn over at Shadow Hills High School, and Mr. Pimentel Admistad High School. During the demonstrations, I was in contact with all of them. I was in contact with our police chief and our city manager to ensure those young people were safe and they were heard, and we helped them get to where they needed to go. And if those schools needed a representative from our council there, I was willing to be there. And I went to Indio High School, and I also went to Amistad to represent this council in this city. And so the students all continue to work with them, and we'll work on some solutions that they can also do as well. So I just want to commend those students for being brave and coming here to get their point across. And we heard you, and your voice matters. And it was mentioned earlier, but I just wanted to mention it again. February 7th, Black History event downtown. It's the third annual that we're doing here. There's going to be some panel discussions. We're going to have Indio High School dance team performing. There's going to be some churches there, some choirs. We have some good music. Going to be a lot of food there. It is Indio, and so we're looking forward to that event. And also, don't forget, the Day Festival starts February 12th, and it runs to March 1st here in the city of Indio. And that will conclude my report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, wonderful. Lots of wonderful things going on. And first, before I get to my thank you, and I know I talked to the folks at Desert Sands Unified School District as well yesterday or the day before. Very appreciative of the police department during the protest, which was really a very positive opportunity for our youth to practice their freedom of speech and let everyone know what they're thinking and how they're feeling. And Mary Kay Bulmer, the superintendent, was very appreciative of your work, of PD, of how we just kind of kept things very, very positive, but we're there just in case. I know a lot of parents showed up to support, and they were very appreciative, Mayor Pro Tem, that you were there and that you grabbed the megaphone and that you talked to the students and you let them know, the extent to which we supported them, that we hear them, as you've said. That's got to be a constant message. We hear you, we support you, and as I said before, you know what, there's no room for fear in our community in any way, shape, or form. So thank you for that. Let's see, my primary meeting was the CVAG Transportation Commission, and I'm going to just add on to the Sunline. It's pretty amazing what Sunline does. I think maybe we take for granted, a bus company, but this is huge, and I learned that they maintained over 500 bus stops. That's pretty significant, and they're constantly reviewing where to stop. It's a constant change for students, for the elderly. They have Sunbus. They have so many different ways to help every segment of our community. And they also provide subsidized transportation. So if you call, and again, particularly someone that may have a handicap issue or can't get from point A to point B, they also connect with Uber and some of the other taxis. Of course, they manage the taxis to make sure that the person who needs to get to a given location gets there. This organization is bending over backwards to provide, transportation service to our community, and I'm wondering if there's any way here that we can get the message out, because so far, Indian Wells is I think #1, and I think Rancho Mirage in terms of getting the surveys back. And we know that Indio is #1 in everything. So we need to get the residents and our students and our college kids to be able to fill out the survey, and it would really be helpful for our community. So if there's any way we can get the word out, that would be terrific. Sumo dog. The second I tell people it's, sumo dog, hot dogs, and they're going, hot dogs, really? Are you serious? Yeah, I'm serious. They're gourmet hot dogs, Japanese style. Never tasted anything like them. If anybody hasn't tried a sumo dog, you are missing it, because they are very, very excellent. Let's see what else today. Cleanup, as Councilmember Miller said, always fun. I enjoy the cleanups. I enjoy walking around the community, talking to people, picking up trash, and just watching a community shine, right? Because after you clean it up and you get all the big stuff and the little stuff out, that particular part of the community just shines. Had the opportunity to attend the Student of the Month. That was fun, and we gave them certificates. Now, this is something that is quarterly by the county. It's the Greater Coachella Valley Student of the Month. So all the school districts, Palm Springs, Desert Sands, I'm sure I'm missing Palm Springs Unified and Coachella Valley Unified, are present. And so we gave certificates to 3 students, and I'd like to mention them here on the dais. The first one from Amistad High School, Daniel Hernandez Martinez. Indio High School was Sofia Cruz Gonzalez, and Shadow Hills High School was Giselle Santapenez. If I pronounced that right, I apologize in advance. The stories that these kids have, and some of them have real mountains that they've had to overcome, but the energy and the focus and the desire to do better. Most of these kids had something close to a 3.5 or 4.0 average, and they just had some really interesting stories to tell about how they got there and where they're going in life. And it was very wonderful presentation. Really wonderful to see these kids. Veterans Resource Fair, I think you were there as well for a few minutes. So the Desert Recreation had a veterans resource. It was very well attended. Supervisor Perez was there, others, just everybody, Gonzalez was there, to really try to provide information for veterans. There was a Q&A session there. There was information about claims, housing, healthcare. So it was really an environment for any of our veterans to be able to gather information, ask questions, and provide information as well. Kudos to Desert Recreation for putting that on. Let's see, did that. So I had so much fun today. I'm a member of the Women's Club, as everybody knows, and they asked me to give a presentation on the city. So I sit down at my table, and the first thing this woman says, she comes over here and she said, I just moved here from San Diego less than a year ago. I love this city. It's so fresh. It's so clean, and the people are so authentic. And I just went, wow. And I tell you what, other people got up because they were there to talk about me, and they're saying, yeah, there's so much to do. And it did not stop. I was beaming. Thank you all the years. Thank you, Council, for all that we've done to make this city an amazing place. And thank you, staff, because for all of our vision, you took our vision and took it 200%. So we are being noticed. People care. People love our city. People are encouraging people to move to Indio. Some may think that's good. Maybe others not so much. I love it. Come on down. It's a great city. Let's see. I think that's all at this point. It was also a discussion there at the women's luncheon about the concern about ICE. Everybody is very, very concerned about a population, about the fear that some people are feeling. And it was suggested by a few of the women in the group that we look at adopting a resolution that really keeps, how can I use the right words here, that ICE is not present or is not allowed on government, city offices, government property. And it's probably some wordsmithing we can do around that. So I understand, the process and the federal government and whatnot, but I think that may be an option or a way to, again, let our residents and our businesses know that we hear them, and we are trying to create as safe an environment as we possibly can. So I thought I'd throw that out there to the council and see what you thought of that idea. Don't speak all at once.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, not helping out with the situation. I think, some people think of it as law enforcement, but we're seeing this is outside of law enforcement now. I just heard about a case in Sealy that happened on Saturday where there was a raid there on, I believe it was farm workers, and the lady that was driving them to work was an American citizen. And she was in detention for 2 days. And while she was in detention, the rent was due for her kids. She had kids 19 and younger. I believe it was 3 kids. And they had to go and start a GoFundMe to try to get the rent to pay so that they wouldn't get evicted from their home while their mother was in detention. And so there's cases like this happening all the time that are endangering our residents, that are affecting our families. And so I think, whatever steps we can take to not be helping them in those kind of situations, if it was more going after dangerous criminals, it'd be a different story. But we're seeing that this is well outside of legal boundaries. And the other part that I want to eventually discuss here, maybe in the next meeting with the chief, is, what happens when our police do observe something that is obviously illegal? Or if they're getting a call And, you know, they're saying they don't have a warrant, but they're trying to break into my house or something, right? Or they're not identifying, like, what do we do when there's an obvious danger to our community and we're stuck in that situation, right? It's federal law enforcement. We're local, we're not supposed to get in between, but if there's a danger or they're not following the legal process, what are we supposed to do to keep our residents safe? I think that's a really hard question that we're gonna have to deal with here, that we do have to deal with now, right? So I think expanding on that conversation a little bit to have some clarity with our police department is gonna be important, but I also agree with you on the resolution on not allowing that on city property because of the dangers that we've seen coming at our community.
I think, like I mentioned earlier, sometimes we may feel a certain way about something or, you know, and we think the rest of the community knows, and sometimes you got to speak up, right? And when people hear that, you know, they understand. And one of my goals is to work with our young folks on solutions. You know, they came out, did a demonstration, now what? We need some solutions. Is it volunteering for nonprofits? Is it doing food drives? Is it, you know, working with TODEC or Find Food Bank? Our young people could do a lot. They have access to our council. They have access to the White House. You know, everyone has an email and office that you could communicate with. If I got 100 letters from Indio High School in my email today, it's going to definitely get my attention. And so we have to teach that to our youth, and we just can't keep giving them our perspective of what they should do. Sometimes we just have to listen. And with that listening, you do come up with ways to form a resolution or form some document that people understand. We understand law enforcement, local and federal, and we don't want to drive a wedge in between our law enforcement community. But there's things that we're seeing that are unethical and unlawful that we don't want in our community. And we want to ensure our people that they're safe here. And we also have to educate people that there's parameters that we have to work in as well. And I think that's where the engagement is important. So I do support that. However we do it, whatever verbiage we come up with, you know, we're seeing a lot in our community that's tough. You know, I've worked in the state prison for 24 years. I've seen a lot of stuff. Recently, I was at a gas station. I seen two gentlemen who were wearing landscaping shirts from a very known landscaping company that we know. But I noticed something that I don't see in the general public that I see in the prison system. And it's something we call shadowing. The gentleman was paying for his food at the register, and his partner put his back against his back, and he was watching the door. That caught my attention because that's only something I see in the prison system. But it also reinforced the fact that people are living in fear. And I hope that we come up with some meaningful solutions from the federal level. That's out of our realm. But I really would love for our young folks. We had 120 outside the other day. I want to show them how to write an email to our Congress and our White House that we need comprehensive immigration reform. We need to work on solutions and stop driving the wedge in between our community. That's enough of my soapbox. I'm gonna get off because then I'm gonna start preaching and we don't need to yet.
All right. Gentlemen, any thoughts?
I just kind of need a little bit more clarity on what you wanted, because I'm listening to Oscar.
Each is a little different.
He took a little bit, I'm not questioning it, and then I just listened to Councilman Wayman. And now I'm trying to refocus. What is your goal? Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm going to throw that back out to you. What can we do to help our community feel as though the city of Indio supports them? And one concept was to create a resolution that essentially creates a safe zone. And I know that in reality that likely in large part doesn't exist, but there are other communities that are doing that specific to either government offices or a wider reach around any city property. That's probably hard to do, but I think that that's something that we can possibly consider. We can ask staff maybe what has been done in other cities, right? I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I just know that other cities have created documents, resolutions that really create this safe zone around government-oriented facilities and properties.
So the way I'm looking at it, based on your question, is I come from a world of education and enforcement. We educate the public on what their rights are and what we need to do, and then we protect them. But there's got to be laws that have to be enforced. So come up with a plan that comes that way for me, and I'll consider it. That's the only way. I come from a world where people, if they do bad, they go to the bad place. But I'm looking at where people are being harmed. I'm looking at people where it involves children, it involves the senior, it involves the everyday person, the human being. That's where I come from. But if you want a safe zone, then you need to define that safe zone so I understand what we're going to commit to.
I concur. We do support our community, and we do protect them in all the rules and regulations that we follow here in the city of Indio. I don't know how we get in the middle of a jurisdiction like the federal government, the state of California, or anyone else to say they can and cannot come on. Do they have a warrant? Do they not? We don't want to put I don't want to put our police department in a wedge between any kind of other agency, because if we don't believe with the highway patrol, do we tell them they can't come in? They have jurisdiction.
Totally agree.
We tell the sheriff he can't come in because we have jurisdiction. We want to see something. Right now it happens to be ICE, but when we start talking about putting a wedge between our police department and their job they have to do, they know what they need to do. And us telling them that they can't be on city property, what city property? They can't go to a park. They can't go into our parking lot. I mean, we probably wouldn't want them to stage anywhere. Nobody would want them to stage in a spot. But if they need to go into somewhere, they have that jurisdiction, and to put our police officers in the way of that doesn't make sense to me.
I'll give you a perfect example, and this is not
So giving them a safe zone, saying that if you're here, you're safe, and the federal government can't go in there, is not being.
I'll give you a
poor choice of.
And again, I'm only answering your question directly, Mayor. I respect what the other councilman said, but I'm going to quote something that happened here once, way before anybody was here. We were directly told by the city manager to stop Caltrans from working on a portion of a highway. And we told them if we go out there and force them out physically, we will have 9,000 members of the California Highway Patrol arrest the 50 members of the city police department. But he was determined that we had to follow that directive, and we had to go back and tell him we can't do that. That was over a Caltrans territory issue with us, and we're building. Totally different than human beings being violation of their rights and their freedom and all that stuff, which is extremely important. And in my world, if we did a bad search warrant, the city police department did a bad search warrant, people got hurt, there would be people on Department of Justice federal charges if we broke the law. It's that simple. Every officer involved shooting is critical to this point. There's an independent unit that comes out and investigates it. You see what I'm saying? We are able to hold people accountable in most of all 50 states, and they are held to the highest letter of the law. And I guarantee you that Councilman Wayman Furman has seen a lot of federal employees, state, local employees incarcerated for wrongdoing. I want to know because we just had the LA police chief, which is the second largest law enforcement agency in the world, and they handle everything from global situations because they're constantly looking at the safety for terrorism in their city. And he said he won't enforce the mask law. I'm just trying to figure out a way where I can answer Councilman Ortiz's concern, which I find it valid, is how do we, can we go make an arrest, and are they going to accept in the local court?
Right.
Are they going to accept them? Is the DA of Riverside County going to prosecute them?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So when you go back to safe zone, the only way I know about safe is there's got to be a rule we can enforce.
I'm gonna let the.
No, I think Councilmember Catron said it right. Investigations are being held are wrong. So you're absolutely right. There's things coming down where they're going to be required to wear body cams and not wear masks, and that's some from the federal level. There's one thing we have to understand. There's going to be enforcement. There was enforcement before this administration, and there's going to be enforcement after. I think that's where the fear comes from. And by no way, I think a resolution, we do not want to put our police department in any way of what they're doing. But are any of us as firefighters, police officers, correctional officers, if we witness any crime, we're mandated to report that, right? And so there's things that we know, but sometimes we have to say it so the public understands it.
Mayor, we're using this time to put items for future discussion.
Right.
It's a fascinating conversation, but I think we're getting a little bit
Off
far
track.
afield of the
Thank
Brown
you.
Act.
Right.
So if, the mayor or the council would like us to put an item on a future agenda for discussion, staff can absolutely work on that, and maybe we can work with you, Mayor, after the meeting to define what the scope of that will be.
And maybe we can just take a look at that. If that's okay with everyone, we don't have to make any final decisions, but I think if we can take a look at that and what other cities are doing, I think that would be a positive and a benefit for our community.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I would like to request, as part of that discussion, taking into account that we're all sworn to protect the Constitution, right? And when we're seeing something unconstitutional as blatant as somebody does not have a search warrant, but they're going to break into my house, how are we supposed to respond? Can we at least
little different, yeah.
document what's going on as part of our police department, right?
We
That's
can
part of that
have a
conversation.
discussion
We can look
about
at-
the ability
yeah.
of local law enforcement to intercede in a
Right,
federal
right.
operation
Yeah,
as part of
before
that
we-
discussion, if you'd like.
So I think we can look at that. Thank you, team, for your comments and direction. I appreciate that. And so end my comments. That was some good conversation. And I'd like to move on to item number 10.1 or 10, appointments. 10.1, appointment of Michael Slater to the Mobile Home Fair Practices Commission, nominated by Councilmember Ortiz.
Yes, thank you. And let me just pull up a message I had here. He is now my planning commissioner, so he'll be working as a planning commissioner and at the Mobile Home Commission. And he does have also experience working with the county with the Mobile Home Rehabilitation Program and handling some of those grants coming down there. So I think he's well suited for the position. Thank you.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I think he made the motion, I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Fantastic, motion passes. Welcome again, Michael Slater, to the Mobile Home and Fair Practices. Item number 11, consent calendar.
I just, for me, I would like to pull item 11.5
Okay,
and 11.9.
11.5 and 11.9. I'm recusing myself on 11.11. Anybody want to pull anything else? No, all right, 11.5, go right ahead, your thoughts?
The thoughts was, and Councilmember Ortiz helped me with the CM, is just to have our director give an update and pretty much brag. I want to be able to, for them to know what we heard, even though it's written, the public needs to know how well we're doing.
Good evening, Ruby Walla, Finance Director for the City of Indio. On January 28th, I had the pleasure of meeting with the Finance Committee, which consists of the City Treasurer, Rob Rockwell, myself, and then Councilmember Gutron and Councilmember Ortiz, as well as staff, in addition to Chandler Asset Management, of which they've been our investment manager for quite some time. With we manage in-house internally. So based on that performance, our total cash value and investment portfolio combined is about 218. And we also earned 1.5 million, so 218 billion, and then we also, 218 million, and then 1.5 million in investment earnings for the quarter. Average right now between LAIF is at 4.2%. Our portfolio with Chandler is 4.11 with an average quarter yield of 3.7. And then our investments range from 1 to 5 years, which carry right now from the 1 year at 3% all the way up to over 4%. Happy to answer any questions.
I think the only tidbit based on our financial commitments, but our current credit rating is still pretty strong.
Yes, it is. And also what I would like to commend is within the packet and what varied from last quarter to this quarter, we also issued the 2025 A bonds for Public Safety Phase 2. And so Chandler Asset Management also manages those funds until we're ready to start progress on that, which Councilmember Gutron reported, as well as commend council in this report is our summary report of cash with fiscal agents, which is other holdings. Big efforts and kudos to City Council, as well as will be included in mid-year budget, is we have our PARS account and our OPEB account to help fund our unfunded liabilities. We did make those contributions that were approved via the budget process, so we're actually increasing those balances for future as well, and they're averaging about $5 million at this point in each of those trust accounts now.
And the other thing that was important to know that Councilman Ortiz and I learned is the investments that were done in the early 2000s that were unfortunately, like many cities, still paying, our investments now are being paid sooner than that because of what we've been doing creatively, so.
Excellent.
Anyways,
Great job.
that's it on that.
Job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Excellent. Okay, and we have 11.9.
The only thing I wanted to point out, and obviously, and I'm going to ask the city manager because we've talked about it. So in being part of the budget process in the past and working at it, especially in our janitorial services, with so much that we've invested and have beautiful buildings, and they're not just beautiful, they're designed to be functional for our uses, is the maintenance of them. You know, we have to maintain them. There's a lot, and what was brought by the city manager, not this, but almost since he got here, I remember that he gave an example of going to jury duty. And you talked about the example of what a beautiful courthouse it was, but you noticed how they were taking care of it. And I remember that presentation to the state because he gave an example that it wasn't being taken care of as much as it should have been. And all it took was a piece of tile that was plugged into the wall. Beautiful building, but they didn't do anything to put it and maintain it the way it should. And I think the reason I'm bringing up the janitorial service is that I think we really need to look at not just contracting anymore. It's been brought up by staff, it's been brought up by the city manager, and I know where we're at this point, but I really would like to support that we need to invest in our grounds, we need to invest in our buildings, so 30 or 40 years from now, they look as good as we invested in them. It's taxpayers' dollars, and I think we deserve to kind of look at it. The janitorial services that I've experienced is obviously at the police department, and the crew there that we currently have on a contract, they take care of it as if it was their home. And I mean, it is spick and span. And the department, we really need to invest in maybe making them part of the family instead of just a contract. And they're local people, okay? That means local jobs. And if we've done the math, I think the city manager kind of says it kind of, maybe I won't take the words out of your mouth, but you said almost breaks even. And based on the way our benefits are and the wages that we have, and this is something I really would like us to have the city management team look at it and come back and maybe during our midterm budget review.
So are you suggesting then we sort of table this item for?
No, I'm going to leave it up to the city manager advice, but I know that we talk about it, but I wanted to come bring it forward, that's why. So I'm going to leave it up to what I just mentioned and give the city manager the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. We are exploring always to try to maintain it better, but also to make sure we're watching costs. It does appear early on that it'd be about a wash either way. This is needed to be passed just to allow us to go through that evaluation period.
Okay, all right.
But let us bring it forward. It may very well be in the overall budget because that's when you look at classifications of positions and so forth, but that's only in the April, May timeframe. So within a couple of months, we'll be able to bring that back for the discussion he's referring to.
Okay.
One quick question is there any risk of losing, those people that have been working with us for a long time in that transition?
I think most of these employees through contract have adopted us. And I think nothing's been promised, but the city manager sparked my interest when he mentioned it. And I wanted to bring it to the body, so at least we start thinking about it now. And when mid-year budget review comes, we kind of evaluate it, because like any other contract, there is a break-in period. So we wouldn't be committed unless council here sees otherwise, but it is a contract.
No, I agree, as long as we keep in mind, that we should make a strong effort to keep those workers that we currently have in those positions.
We need to do an analysis, yeah.
Yep.
Analysis is good, and of course, our rules and regulations wisely are that we competitively recruit those that have experience that we know of and have seen their work, you would believe would have a clear advantage. But pursuant to our memorandum of understanding with our bargaining units and so forth, we would post a position and allow competition and then select the best candidates.
Are you
Thank you,
good?
council.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion.
Hang on a second. I have to make a change to item number 11.6. The ordinance number should be 1830 for the record. So go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent calendar with the change to 11.6 and your recusal on 11.11.
I'll second that motion.
Right. All those in favor?
Aye.
And Mayor Pro Tem, do you want to handle, or what is the process here since I'm recusing on 11.11?
Well, I'll ask the council for a motion.
I'll motion to
Second.
Okay, motion,
I have a second?
well, you have to go
No,
ahead.
I said, no, I'm asking if I have a second.
Yeah, second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, abstentions? Motion passes.
Terrific, thank you. Just my recusal seems to complicate things. Sorry about that, team. And lastly, the most fun of all is item number 12, joint resolution numbers, actually, that's 12.2. 12.1, joint resolution numbers 2026-84, 10544, and 2026-15 of the Indio Water Authority, City Council, and Public Financing Authority, approving water revenue refunding bonds, Series 2026A, in an amount not to exceed $38 million, and related agreements. Ruby.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, Ruby Walla, Finance Director for the City of Indio. The item before you this evening is another refunding opportunity. We came with you previously related to a refunding opportunity with the Terra Lago. This evening, we are seeking approval via resolution by each respective body, the City Council, Indio Water Authority, and Indio Public Financing Authority, for authorization to issue water revenue refunding bonds on approximately a little over 30 million, achieving a savings of approximately 1.5 million, no extension to the existing term, no new money at this point. Tonight, we have with us our members of our financing team, and shortly I'll turn it over to Jim Fabian, who is our municipal advisor with Fieldman Rollup and Associates. He's prepared a presentation to go over the financing overview, as well as the actions that we are requesting of City Council tonight for this transaction. So I will turn it over to Jim.
Thank you, Ruby. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Jim Fabian of Fieldman Rollup and Associates, the city's municipal advisor. We do have a short presentation that we're going to walk through this evening. Wanted to really thank staff for their hard work, Brian, Jonathan, Ruby, and Miguel in the water area, who were instrumental in helping us put together a very strong credit presentation with Standard & Poor's, putting together the documentation in front of you this evening for approval to provide savings to the residents of the city of Indio. I'm joined tonight also by Brian Forbath of Stradling, who is the city's bond counsel and disclosure counsel, also Ralph Holmes of Piper Sandler, who's the city's underwriter. We're going to break up the presentation so we each get a little bit of chance to talk with you about the item in front of you this evening. So in an overview, as Ruby mentioned, we're refunding the outstanding 2015 bonds of the city. We are not extending the term of the debt. We are simply taking interest rates that are higher and replacing them with lower interest rates based upon today's bond market, saving the city money in each of the years. In front of you, the 2015 bonds were rated A+ by Standard & Poor's back in 2015 when they were issued. The bonds are secured by the net revenues of the water system. So you take your gross revenues, which are from the rates and charges of the customers. You subtract out of that the operational and maintenance cost of the system, and then you have your net revenues that are used to then pay the debt on the bonds. And the bonds that we're looking at are optionally callable in 10 years, which is 10 years from now, and those would be called at par at that point in time. I wanted to turn it over to Brian Forbath to walk through some of the nuances with the water authority in the city next.
Good evening, Mayor Holmes and council members. Brian Forbath, good to see you all this evening. So maybe just a little walk down memory lane, just a little bit for everybody who's listening tonight. So we're refunding bonds from the water authority, right? So how did we get there? Back in 2001, the city made the decision at the time to lease its water system to the Indio Water Authority, which it created between the city itself and the redevelopment agency as a separate legal body, which you all sit as members of on the board of directors. And then the water authority has managed the water system on behalf of the city for all of these years since then. The bonds that we're talking about refunding were Indio Water Authority bonds. And some of the financial covenants and the lease structure that is in place is rather cumbersome. And given the potential for future water system needs and efficiencies of the city staff and legal counsel and everyone sort of consulted and was making the recommendation that this is a unique opportunity for the city to, in essence, sort of consolidate and recollapse the water system back into the city and sort of eliminate in due course the Indio Water Authority and have the city's water system, just like most other cities, be an enterprise fund of the city underneath the direction of the city staff and so forth. And then again, this doesn't have any impact on Indio Water Authority employees or anything. They will all just continue to operate in their due course, but as an enterprise of the system. Next slide. Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Again, I think Jim gave a good overview of the financing, but these will be bonds issued by the Indio Public Finance Authority. It'll be secured by payments now from the city's Water Enterprise Fund. And just like as before, it'll be secured by pledge and lien of net revenues. There's a rate covenant that requires the city to collect rates and charges so that the water system rates are 120% of debt service each year after O&M. Pretty standard stuff. There's the ability, we've sort of modernized the financial covenants to allow for future flexibility for Chromium 6 and other things that could come down the line to provide a lot more flexibility for the city. So there's an additional bonds test. And again, as Jim noted, this is a fixed rate refunding, no extension of maturity. It's for debt service savings at essentially every year. And there will be a debt service reserve fund funded for the protection of the city and ratepayers and investors. And with that, I will turn it over to Ralph to talk about some of the economics.
Ralph Holmes with Piper Sandler. We're the city's bond underwriter. Okay. We're the firm that actually sells the bonds to investors. So this has been sort of hit on before. The reason we're doing this is for savings. So we're looking to issue about $33 million to refund the 2015 bonds. This will save about $131,000 a year for the 14 years remaining on the bonds. So that totals to about $1.8 million. So that's money that goes from, instead of going to investors, it's going to stay here in the city of Indio. In present value terms, that's about $1.5 million, a little bit less than 4%. There it's graphically shown. If I can do this. There we go. A couple things to point out. We did have a rating meeting with Standard & Poor's on the 26th. Based on the water system's good credit, strong management, solid system, very residential system. We received an A+ rating from Standard & Poor's, which is a great rating, and actually will help us sell the bonds at even better rates. With that, why don't I go ahead and ask Jim to come up and talk about the schedule.
So as we discussed tonight, you're wearing 3 hats as the authority. the Water Authority, the Finance Authority, and the City Council. We are scheduled tentatively to sell the bond issue on February the 19th, depending upon Ralph's discussion with his desk, but that's their target date. Could adjust a couple days here or there, and we're scheduled to close the bond transaction on March the 19th. In front of you this evening, you have 3 resolutions. The first one is as the IWA, and again, as Brian mentioned, this is to clean up some of the prior lease transactions between the IWA and the city. You have then the City Council resolution in front of you that approves all the documents related to the bond refunding, and then you have the authority resolution, which does the same thing. Tonight, in your packet, you have several documents in front of you for approval. Just quickly to go through those documents. The first document is the bond indenture, which describes the terms under which the bonds are administered between the city and its bond trustee, U.S. Bank. We have the installment purchase agreement, which lays out the terms of the transaction in terms of pledging the net revenues of the system. We have the continuing disclosure agreement. Each year, the city will have to file with Emma the information on the water system on an annual basis. We have the bond purchase agreement between the city and Piper Sandler, where they buy the bonds from you, the city, and then resell those to investors. We have an escrow agreement that defines how the bonds will be refunded and creates the escrow account that will be used to pay off the bonds. We have that termination agreement that I mentioned between the IWA and the city, which terminates the lease with Indio Water Authority. And the last document is the preliminary official statement, which describes to bond investors everything they need to know about the water system to make a decision whether they want to purchase the refunding bonds or not. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding the proposed refunding bonds or any of the documents in front of you for discussion.
Thank you for the presentation. Any questions or comments? No?
Straightforward.
Yeah, pretty good. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you for your efforts on this and for saving us, this money over the next couple of years. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Huge.
Our pleasure.
Our residents will be very happy. All right, I have a rather long motion here. Who would like to make? Yeah.
Motion to adopt resolution number 2026-84 of the Board of Directors of the Indio Water Authority approving this execution and delivery of an escrow agreement and the termination agreement and related actions. City of Indio approving the execution and delivery of an installment purchase agreement for the Public Financing Authority, approving the issuance of its water revenue refunding bonds, Series 2026A. 2, resolution number 10544 of the City Council of the City of Indio approving the execution and delivery of an installment purchase agreement for the purpose of causing the issuance of the water refunding bonds, Series 2026A, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $38 million, and approving the execution and delivery of a certain necessary documents and certificates in connection therewith and related actions. 3, resolution number 2026-15 of the Board of Directors of the Indio Public Financing Authority approving the issuance of its water revenue refunding bond, Series 2026A, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $38 million, and approving the execution and delivery of certain necessary documents and certificates in connection therewith and related actions.
Okay, City Clerk, do we need to do a roll call vote, or can I do all those in favor?
You can do all those in favor, and just so you know that the resolutions are approved by Council, Indio Water Authority Board members, and Public Finance Authority Board members.
Perfect. I have a first and a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion aye. Motion passes unanimously. At this point, would Youth Advisory Council, let's see, it's only 6:15, like to be excused? Please. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Yes, it's always great to have you here. Okay. And item number 12.2, CAL FIRE Services Update and Introduction of New Riverside County Fire Chief Robert Fish. Yes. I understand you're Who's giving, are you giving the presentation? You're giving the presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. White, Chief White, sorry, I
That's
apologize.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council, staff. My name is Brian White. I'm your Fire Chief for the City of Indio. It is my pleasure to introduce to you tonight the newest Fire Chief for Riverside County Fire Department and the CAL FIRE Riverside Unit, Chief Robert Fish.
Wonderful, fantastic, yay. Congratulations, that's awesome.
So Chief Fish began his career in 1992 as a volunteer firefighter in the city of Moreno Valley. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, we are. Yep. So from 1995 to 2001, he worked as a dispatch clerk and a public safety communications officer in the Paris Emergency Command Center. In 2001, he was promoted to the role of a firefighter 2 paramedic, and advancing over the next decade to an engineer paramedic and then fire captain paramedic. And during this time, he served the communities across the Coachella Valley, including the Cove communities, La Quinta, and Mecca. In 2010, he transitioned to the department's Emergency Medical Services Bureau as the EMS Continuous Quality Improvement and Education Coordinator, focusing on the quality and improvement in training. In 2015, Chief Fish was promoted to battalion chief in the San Diego unit as the Monte Vista ECC chief. He returned to the Riverside unit in 2017 as a battalion chief, where he was assigned to the Mountain Battalion. In February of 2019, Chief Fish accepted the Eastern Desert Division Chief position and returned here to the Coachella Valley, serving the cities of Indio, La Quinta, and Coachella, and the communities of Thermal, Mecca, Blythe, and the unincorporated communities within Riverside County. He has served as the Deputy Chief of Eastern Operations for the last 5 years. Chief Fish holds an associate's degree in fire technology, a bachelor's of Science in Engineering Protection, Fire Administration. He's accredited Chief Fire Officer as well as a Chief EMS Officer. He has a California Executive Chief Officer Certificate as well, and he still maintains his paramedic license to this day. On a personal note, Chief Fish has been happily married for 23 years and a proud father of 3. Chief, congratulations.
It's wonderful.
Well, first of all, thank you. I feel very weird sitting back here talking with you, but let me first say thank you and appreciate the warm welcome. It's pretty amazing to be able to come back to what feels like home to me, the city of Indio. I very much enjoyed my time as the fire chief in this city, and I think it greatly helped me to prepare to be the fire chief for the entire county. Please let me congratulate you on this beautiful building and downtown. In the last 5 years that I've been gone, the progress in the downtown area has been amazing. I remember being in those conversations early on, coming up with the plan and the infrastructure to see it come to fruition, and not only the beautification, but just the growth in the city. It really warms my heart. And as the county fire chief, Indio is very important to us as a partner. And so that's why we're here tonight, is to give Brian an opportunity as the fire chief to update you guys on the contract and the services that we provide under that. We have brought all of our subject matter experts from finance, administration, my replacement, Mike Beverlin, who is the new Deputy Chief of Eastern Operations as well, who is a familiar face probably to many of you because he's been here in the Valley as a chief officer for the last 7 or 8 years. So if you don't have any questions directly for me, I'm assuming you don't, we'll just jump right in it with Brian.
Is that okay, Council? Do you have any? Okay, again, congratulations.
Thank you, and congratulations to you guys. This is a beautiful building.
Yes, fantastic. Chief White?
All right. So I just wanted to hit some introductions. I know Chief Fish briefly mentioned him, but we did bring the whole team tonight. So we have been listening to the concerns about rising costs as well as services provided under the fire department umbrella. And so we have brought all of the subject matter experts to answer any questions that the council may have. So introducing my team, starting on the left, is Indio's very own Fire Marshal, Matthew Griffith. We have the Operations Battalion Chief, Joe Taylor. The Deputy Director of Administration, Diane Sinclair. The Chief Deputy, Jeff Pemberton, and then my former partner and now boss, Mike Beverlin, who is the Eastern Operational Deputy Chief. It's a whole lot of chiefs, but this is basically the team. So getting started with our presentation here. Our goals is to provide a comprehensive review of the cooperative agreement between CAL FIRE Riverside County Fire Department and the City of Indio. And we want to review several of the exhibits that make up the AO17, which is the quarterly billing statement, which I'm sure you're familiar with and have seen from time to time, and understand the benefits and the value of our cooperative agreement. We've listened over the last several budget cycles, and we've heard words like unsustainable, cost increase, rising cost year over year. And so we wanted to address some of the inflationary pressures, some of the issues that we've been dealing with as a fire department, and some of the non-tangible things that are happening in the background that you don't necessarily see when we talk about the red shiny fire engines and the personnel on the day-to-day basis. So next is a very high-level overview of the cooperative agreement and how the several schedules are broken down. Some may know, others may not, that Riverside County in itself does not have an administrative fee. There is a lot of misinformation on admin fees and who has them and who doesn't. Riverside County on the support services side does not have an administrational fee. They use a program called cost allocation, which we will dive into here a little bit further in the presentation. But again, these are the schedules that make up the overall bill and estimate. This is page 2 of it, again, when we get into the schedules, and I've got a slide for each one of these that we can explain in more detail, and again, kind of where all of the dollars are going. So moving on to our estimated numbers here, I want to preface my comments with these are the numbers that are readily available to me. These are not the total operating expenses that would be on the city side that your finance director would have more information. Again, these are personnel costs, things that I have direct access to into my database, not so much like the facility maintenance of specific vehicles for our fire marshal, that type of thing. So again, if we look at our cooperative agreement, council is exactly correct. The costs have been rising steadily over the last couple of years. A lot of that is due to our inflationary pressures, California minimum wage adjustments. We have seen other things that have happened within California under the Budget Reduction Act, and it's caused some volatility in those numbers. So the chart before you, the blue bar graph is what our actuals are. Your red line is what our estimate is. And then that green line in the bottom is what our adjusted actual is. And that is after we take into account several of our various fees for paramedic cost recovery, permits, and that type of information. It's important to note, too, when we talk about the overall cooperative agreement, I kind of mentioned the minimum wage increases and how does that affect your firefighters or your overall contract. So our entry-level firefighter position is several cents above minimum wage. That's what kind of sets the starting point for the rest of our contract. You have your firefighter 1 moves up to firefighter 2, engineer, captain, and so every time that there's an increase in the minimum wage, it creates compaction, and so there are cause and effect, essentially. So this next slide here looks at some of the contract changes and some of the business decisions and then the fiscal year that those decisions were made. So in fiscal year 15-16, there was a paramedic conversion on Truck 86, which upgraded 3 of the firefighter positions, and we added paramedics. In fiscal year 19 and 20, we removed the emergency services coordinator, we added fire system inspectors, and then we upgraded to municipal staffing at station 86 and 88. For those that are unfamiliar, when we talk about traditional staffing versus municipal staffing, sometimes you'll also hear us called fire service standard staffing. That makes sure that there's a captain, an engineer, and a firefighter assigned to every single fire engine. One of those positions is generally a paramedic. In fiscal year 2021, again, upgrade municipal staffing at Fire Station 80 and 87. In 2022, we converted a fire captain paramedic position to a regular fire captain. We added an EMS specialist. That position has remained vacant over the last several years just due to the volatility of the budget and kind of understanding, we wanted to wait and see if things were going to stabilize coming out of COVID. So that position remains vacant. We've eliminated it from your next year's estimate, which will be forthcoming soon. We know that going into 2026, there's a contract renewal, and that position will no longer be included. And then in 24-25, where you see another little spike in there, we had our battalion chief allocation change, and then probably the biggest contributor to your increased rate was moving to an industry standard work week. So that reduced the work hours from 72 consecutive hours to 66. And in order to achieve that, we had to add 5 additional positions to Indio's contract, and that occurred in 24-25. You'll notice too that on that bar graph, there's 2 stars there, and you'll see kind of an anomaly. Typically, costs increase steadily over years, but you'll see a pretty significant dip in those 2 fiscal years. I have a slide that'll explain the reason for that dip, but that was due into the reduction of the staff benefit rate. So as I said, staff benefit rate, so the Assembly Bill 84, it redirected $2.5 billion of general fund dollars into CalPERS supplemental payment provided in the Budget Act of 2019. So what that did is it artificially lowered our staff benefit rate across those fiscal years. And what you're seeing now as we return to those normal years is the normal increase, plus we're making up the difference from those 2 years where they were artificially deflated. So looking at our staff benefit rate, again, the bar graph at the bottom is the retirement, and then the orange line at the top is the total staff benefit rate. And again, you can see that pretty significant fluctuation in those 2 years where in those budget acts, the governor introduced a significant amount of money to offset that fee. So I know I talked briefly about the compensation history, and a lot of the changes that you see in the overall contract, again, are due to that minimum wage increase, adding additional positions, and then some of the business decisions, again, that were made. California law, under the government code, they're required to take into consideration the salary and benefits of other jurisdictions. And so what you see here is a brief summary of the salary surveys from 2014 through 2023, where, again, they're looking at CAL FIRE compared to 25 other agencies. And you can see that between 89 and 30%, your CAL FIRE contract and the employees, when we compare base salary to base salary, less than other fire departments. The most recent 2025 was actually released on Monday, and that report is showing at roughly, so in 2025, the compensation lag is still at 26.9%. Okay, so moving into the schedules and the items that actually make up your bill. So again, it's important to note that there is not an administrative fee on the county side. There is what's called cost allocation. And that cost allocation is a pool of resources, personnel, that make up our fire department. So when we talk about the administrative side, like what is the administrative side of it? Well, it provides operational support. So it provides and funds the 2 deputy chiefs, 8 division chiefs, 28 battalion chiefs. So that makes sure that the city of Indio always has a chief officer available to them. So even though I may be out on a fire assignment or off on a vacation or not physically here in the city, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year, there is a division chief that is available to the city. We have a rotating coverage, and it's same with our chief officers. So you have Steve Chrisman and Joe Taylor as your battalion chiefs. If they're not here for whatever reason, we have a replacement for them. Again, it provides that scalable coverage. Also included in your administrative and operational is the administrative leadership. It provides the administrative services and our accounting and finance. And some of those positions are kind of highlighted there within the slide. There are other things that are also included under that administrative and operational. So there are 2 regional breathing supports. So the apparatus would be on your far left, is a breathing and lighting unit. We have 2 of those within the county. It responds to every single structure fire, and that's what refills the bottles on our personnel's back. It also provides lighting. It provides nutrition, rehab, cooling. So that's, again, that specialized vehicle there. That administrative operational also supports specialty vehicles. So that middle vehicle there is a squad, which is going to be assigned to Fire Station 86. And we utilize that for swift water response, tools that are too heavy or too big to fit on our ladder truck. When we have staffing challenges or we need to staff an additional for an event, we can use that squad there. So again, these resources all covered underneath that charge. The one on the far right is our heavy rescue, which is our newest apparatus, which will be going into service in the next couple of years. And the goal with that program is to reduce the number of positions and training and funding that the City of Indio has to come up with for our rescue program and to share regionally across the program.
Question.
Yes, sir.
As we put these vehicles online in the Indio area, that means it's also fair to say that it would be assisting the other surrounding contracts and unincorporators of the county, right?
Correct. Using the closest resource concept. So those who have it get access to it first. So additionally covered under that, we're still under the Schedule A side of things. Additionally covered is our support operations warehouse. So this is what we call our service center in our shop. We have roughly 548 apparatus, which are serviced between 2 shops, one here in the city of Indio, and the other one is on the western portion of the county in Paris. The building that you see before us contains all of our PPE. So if you need turnouts, hose, nozzles, you need administrative support, all of that is contained in that building, and it's available to us as the fire department 24 hours a day, 365 days a week. Again, if we were to run a structure fire here in the city and we need additional hose, that's where we call. All of those items are stored there, including the personnel that you see listed on your slide. So that gives us access to delivery truck drivers. If we needed to set up specialized feeding to support the firefighters, all of that comes from that program and those positions right there. Again, another bureau or program which is contained under that administrative Schedule A is our training bureau. So our training bureau, it ensures compliance. It's required by policy, and it is also required by the labor code. So our training bureau oversees our credential tracking, our DMV pull notices, our compliance programs. It provides readiness to make sure that the workforce is trained. We talked, coming out of COVID, some of the paramedic challenges that we were having as an agency. I'm happy to report, due to the work of the team that's here tonight, they've made some significant changes in the way that we do business at the CalHR level. And we're starting to see a return on that investment, and some of our hiring challenges are improving. But with all those new personnel, require a significant amount of training hours. Addition, in part of the training bureau, you have 2 state-of-the-art training facilities. One that's here at Roy Wilson in Thousand Palms, and the other one that's at our Ben Clark Training Center, which is near March Air Force Base. It gives you access to our Public Information and Education Bureau. So again, the team of our talented PIOs are listed below there. I know that the City of Indio has their own PIO, and our PIOs work with Jessica and her team quite a bit. They make sure that we are sharing the information and that we're tagging each other and that we're getting the word that the fire department is doing out there on a daily basis. You see some of the drowning prevention. City of Indio was instrumental in reaching out with our PIO shop, and we actually had our drowning prevention messages on all of the digital signage here throughout the valley. It provides our Prevention and Investigations Bureau. So it's a little weird. They wear the same uniform as I do, but they are actually sworn peace officers. Their truck looks the same, but they flip a switch inside and their lights are blue and red, whereas ours are red and white. But we have our own arson investigators that are post-certified. We have access to bomb dogs, specialized resources and task forces through the ATF, and they are instrumental in the work that we do in the cause and origin. There's a footnote in there that some of the council may remember. A while back, there was a arson fire that occurred here within the city. There were some missteps and some things that we could have done better as a fire department. We took that feedback back from the council, and under the leadership of the team, we now have dedicated CAL FIRE peace officers assigned to the desert here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so that we can provide that service and delivery and make sure that we're doing the things that we need to do when it comes to arson investigation and origin and cause.
Footnote. So now, because of that announcement, those efforts that we had when we had the arson to one of our business and it got out of control, it was I was there and I voiced it because I was accustomed to what CAL FIRE was doing before when we had our own fire department. We didn't have peace officer fire marshals, so we had to depend greatly on CAL FIRE's investigators. And that's the only thing that I lacked, but it wasn't just us, it was the valley had that need. And we keep having a challenge every time it's 4th of July that we're always behind the wheel. And I've stressed that to the last 3 police chiefs because they weren't accustomed to having a fire marshal investigator. And I'm hoping that with you two gentlemen, that we'll get ahead of the game because we're always planning this stuff in May before the 4th of July. And it's become as you can see, it's been an increase since COVID, not just in Indio, but all over Southern California. So I'm hoping that this time we can get ahead of it because it seemed like the West End had it because they had the resources there. Now that it's here, you have the fire departments of Palm Springs and Cathedral City. They have their own designated staff. As the biggest city in the valley, I think we want to get ahead of it. That's the only thing I'm asking on that one. I don't want to see the last minute struggle because it's put a big burden on our police department. And the fire marshals are the expert in collecting this hazardous material, and they're really good at the prosecution side because it's been a big hazard in our city. So I hope you can take that in consideration. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Again, this is a direct result of the conversations that we had during those times is bringing that program here to the desert. I'm happy to work with Chief Tully and all the law enforcement throughout the valley. As everybody knows, the illegal fireworks throughout the Coachella Valley are a significant problem and a challenge, and we're happy to assist in any way possible. So. Again, we're still under that Schedule A. So health and safety. It is another bureau, another program which is covered under there. It provides our battalion chief, a fire captain. It provides our respiratory protection program. We're required annual medical testing as well as a respiratory test that is required through NIOSH and OSHA. They handle all of our injury prevention program that manages our safety and compliance. These are all regulatory things that we're required to comply with. Our exposure tracking, they report and monitor our workplace incidents, infectious disease control. They handle all of the hazardous materials permits for our fuel, propane, compressed natural gas, compressed cylinders, those types of things in a fire station. They also oversee our health and wellness program. As you know, or maybe you don't, but for the first time, suicide was the leading cause of first responders, especially in the fire service. It has taken over cancer, which it's interesting times, what all first responders are dealing with and encountering these days. So again, our behavioral wellness program and our employee support services, which is huge to our fire department. They see things that most people shouldn't see, and that is a huge part of being able to put them back together and help them through a long career. They handle our material data safety sheets and OSHA compliance, and then as well as our personal protective equipment and compliance. Again, we're still under that same schedule. So we're still under Schedule A, so our Fire Planning and Statistics Bureau. They provide and analyze the response data. They identify trends, and they provide insights on how we improve service and delivery and our staffing and support and our key functions. So they track and analyze the emergency response data. So when we get later on in the presentation, there's a smart map that talks about how we're looking at the valley and really the global impacts of development in Riverside County. Another key that this bureau is extremely important is when we get into our emergency medical dispatching, our standard response plan changes, and our nurse navigation. This bureau is key to making data-driven decisions that make business sense. So now we're into the next schedule. So Schedule B, this is your volunteer reserve program. So some might be asking, well, how does this help the city of Indio? So our volunteer and our reserve program, we're working with College of the Desert as well as other places within the community to try to retain and recruit and hire local talent right here in the valley. This has been a huge passion of ours for a while. I know that Chief Fish worked with College of the Desert. They just recently concluded their first paramedic academy. Chief Fish, what was that?
Still going.
Still going?
I can expand a little bit on that. So we've been working for the last, it's probably been 3 years, maybe longer, with the College of the Desert to do exactly what Brian's talking about, which is build a paramedic program. They already had a fire academy, and as you're probably aware of, that they have a police academy there as well. So what we're trying to do is build a pathway for our children that are interested in public safety from the valley to get educated in the valley and then have careers in the valley. And so to Brian's a little bit off on the timeline, but it's moved around because it is the first program. They first 12 students of the paramedic program, the first ever, are now actually in the community. Some of them are actually training here in Indio as we speak as students to complete their training. And those first 12 will hopefully graduate in May. My hope is that we'll be offering them jobs by the fall, and hopefully they'll be able to actually serve here in the Coachella Valley.
So I know that Indio before and now with CAL FIRE has always been a very popular opportunity for young paramedic firefighters because they get the firsthand training. It's been really successful. The one that I've seen it since CAL FIRE's taken the contract has been a challenge is maintaining a reserve unit. And I've seen it successful in other areas. Coachella for a long time when they had their own fire, and even when CAL FIRE took over, but we just never saw. So you're hoping your goal is to improve a reserve unit out of the Indio division?
Well, yeah, actually countywide. So this is actually, there's a 3-step tiered process that we've been working on. And I will ask Chief Pemberton to come up and speak a little bit about it as well. But it's actually, we're starting at the, not just the reserve level, but actually at the Explorer level, which is a Boy Scout program that allows us to capture kids as low as 14 up to the age of 17 or 18. And then they would bridge into the volunteer reserves. The department, through a number of changes and frankly changes in our communities, that program atrophied. And we are putting a lot of resources, time, and effort into actually reestablishing it and trying to grow it. And it's personal for me and Jeff and Brian and Mike because we all came from the volunteer program. And so we see it as something that's valuable because it produced us, which are from your communities, that then turned around and served and grew up in those communities. So I'll turn it over to Jeff.
So the only reason that was mentioned, just as a footnote, is I respect the volunteer program. The challenge is, I understand countywide, but in Indio, that's right. So my nephew started as an explorer in Indian Wells. He's now a firefighter because of it. I remember at our police department, we donated $5,000 to start the exploring program here at headquarters, but it didn't have the structure to go. So it just hasn't been successful in the city of Indio. I know it's countywide, and I know you're making an attempt this time. I just want to know what we could do to support it in Indio, as well as a reserve program in Indio.
I would say that we're going a little farther than attempting. We've actually dedicated professional staff to manage structure and push it, so.
Good to know.
It's a great question, and I'm excited, and Chief, thanks for throwing it to me. So when I got this position almost 3 years ago. It was one of my passions because that's where I came from, much like, well, actually just about everybody that's on the executive county fire leadership team. We're in both patches. So that's my alma mater, that's my roots. So I have a strong passion for it. So we put a lot of effort into it, had some opportunities to make some staffing changes. We took a program that only had 30 reserves in it. We're actually working on changing the actual name from volunteer reserve to reserve. It's got to take some board action, so we got a little bit more work to do there. But we now have almost 300 applications in the pipeline. Now we've got to get them through academies and try and get them turned out. So we've solved the recruitment problem, and I would say probably 50% or more of those are from the Valley, which is really where we have seen long-term sustainable employees for us as a department with the CAL FIRE patch as well. So we're very excited, and we actually just approved as an executive team going all the way back to the beginning, and that's the Explorer Scouts. And we're starting a bona fide county-wide Explorer program within every battalion is our goal under the county fire auspices. We had some here and there, but they weren't unified across the department, and I think that's another great opportunity for us to get kids right out of school. As Chief Fish and I like to refer to, we like to get them hooked into the program because it's addicting, and even though I've retired once, I can't get away from it. So we're very excited with the progress of the program.
Thank you.
And also too, like we're recruiting for our fire marshal. There's a lot of jobs outside of riding on a fire engine and doing paramedicine or responding to emergencies. We have mechanics, we have administrative and support staff. There are a ton of opportunities within the county fire department, and our goal is to recruit local, get the local talent, give them a meaningful and a good job, and then provide back here to the Valley. So, yes, sir.
I know we're making an effort to hire locally. I got a two-part question. What is the process, or are there any processes of the pipeline from the California Department of Corrections with their firefighters, and also locally with our juvenile hall? Is there any collaboration with juvenile hall to get those kids involved in fire?
Currently not within Riverside County. In the CAL FIRE program, there is, outside of the cooperative agreement with Riverside County Fire and the state of California. There are other opportunities on the state side with wildland fire response. So those programs do exist through the Ventura Training Center, and there are some other ones that are out there as well. Currently not specific to Riverside County.
Can I expand a little bit on that? Councilman, because I know you're familiar with it, just for the general public, there are some challenges for that population to acquire some of the licenses required. I know the Newsom administration has been working on this for a while to try to remove those barriers, but they still exist. And it's not just for our department, but it's for most professional fire departments where there's career, because there's required licenses that they have challenges in obtaining. That doesn't mean it'll always be that way, but that's kind of where it's at the moment.
All right, moving into our next schedule. So this is our Schedule C, our medic and our EMS administrative support. So again, as I go through all of these schedules, these are all of the things that you don't see every day, don't touch and feel, that are happening behind the scenes so that our fire department can continue to exist. And the staffing includes a physician and a medical director, registered nurses, a battalion chief, fire captain paramedics, senior EMS specialists, and emergency medical specialists. They provide the program oversight for all of our paramedics and our EMTs. They ensure quality and compliance. So not only with our regulatory agencies, with the local EMS agency, state EMS, DEA compliance because of the narcotics that we carry. They maintain our training, our education, all of the license management, all of the things that happen behind the scenes. And there's actually an extensive amount with continuing education for both our EMTs and our paramedics. And then again, getting our nurses with our frequent flyers, with our community and our skilled nursing homes, reducing the reliance on the 911 system. And those are all things that happen within this bureau. They're the liaisons, again, like I mentioned, to the regulatory agency, both state and local EMS. And again, having our own physician is huge as a fire department. When I talked about that decision support team, they're working hand in hand together. As you know, and you have mentioned that costs are continuing to rise. We're at a tipping point in the fire service in really America, but specifically in California. And the options are we either add more fire engines and staff, which is extremely expensive, or we figure out how to go to less calls. This team with our nurses, our doctors, our data decision support team, that's what they're working on right now, is the figuring out how to go to less calls. So now, again, moving into your next schedule, which is our battalion chief support and the allocation change. This was discussed in fiscal year 23 and 24, and then those changes were recently implemented. And so why the change was needed? CAL FIRE, we knew that we were going to the industry standard work week, which was moving from a 72 to a 66 and eventually landing at a 56. We knew that we had to add more positions so that we could cover that gap. So we quickly realized that the city's funding their own battalion chief was not really feasible when you look at the cost breakdown. So throughout fiscal year 23 and 24, the group met with all of the cities and the partners and reevaluated the current battalion chief allocation and the methodology that they used for that. The costs are now distributed by the number of suppression personnel versus the number of fire stations that they used to oversee. The end result for the city of Indio is it increased your cost by $62,274. So that was I wouldn't call it the unintended effect. That was the result of that change. Prior to that change, the city of Indio was funding only one battalion chief. The second battalion chief that they received the coverage from, the 7B position, was covered under that cost allocation methodology where all of the partners were funding that one position. This leveled the playing field for all of the partners. And while it did increase the overall funding required for that particular schedule by that $62,000, if we look at the fiscal year 25-26 rates, the city of Indio, if they had 3 battalion chiefs, which would be required under the staffing model, would be roughly $1.1 million. Based off of the allocation methodology that exists today, your current allocation for battalion chief coverage is $531,000 because, again, it is a regional benefit and we're sharing to make sure that that battalion chief coverage is always available here in the Coachella Valley. Next schedule, emergency command center and our dispatch services. And the command center is where every single call begins. It's where every response is coordinated, and it's the lifeline connecting the public, the dispatchers, and our first responders. Our staffing and support gives you access to over 60 fire communications dispatchers. Again, we're paying a portion of having access to all of this. And when we talk about the cost increasing year over year and some of the why, when we first started as volunteers, as we had talked about, the 911 system usually went something like this. You'd call 911, they'd pick up the phone, 911, it's your emergency. Okay, you're having a heart attack? Okay, help's on the way. And then they would hang up the phone. Our model has changed considerably over the last couple of years, where we're now doing emergency medical dispatch. We're providing CPR instructions over the phone. We're giving advice over the phone on when to take a Tylenol, when to not. So with that, our dispatchers are now required to stay on the line, which means we had to hire more dispatchers. Oh, sorry. Are we able to get the presentation back up? Oh, sorry, we're going to the video. I have a quick video to show you. I do want to make a quick announcement for those that are watching at home. If you have kids, this may be difficult to watch. It's a reenactment of a child drowning, but it's important to see all of the processing that's happening in the background and how difficult it is for our dispatchers, as well as the length of time that they stay on the phone now, which is, again, driving up some of those costs because we had to hire personnel.
Fire department, what's the address of the emergency?
Help me, my son, he's in the water.
Ma'am, we're gonna send help. What's the address of the emergency?
25361 Mountain Spring Street. Hurry.
And what's the closest cross street?
Ridgemore.
What city?
Menifee.
Is this a house or an apartment?
It's a house, hurry.
Okay, ma'am, tell me exactly what happened.
Wait, we couldn't find my son. He's in the pool.
I'm sending paramedics to help you. Stay on the line. Do not go in the water unless it's safe to do so.
My husband got him out.
Are you with the patient right now?
Yes, help me.
How old is the patient?
He's only 3.
And is he awake?
No.
Is he breathing?
No, he's
okay,
not.
I'm sending paramedics to help you. I need you to stay on the line. I'm going to tell you exactly what to do next. Are you right by him now?
Yes.
Okay, listen carefully. Lay him flat on his back on the ground. Remove any pillows.
He's on the
You're gonna
ground
kneel next
already.
to him. Look in his mouth for any food or vomit. Is there anything in his mouth?
I don't see anything.
Okay, you need to place your hand on his forehead, your other hand under his neck, and then tilt his head back. Put your ear next to his mouth. Can you feel or hear any breathing?
No.
I'm going to tell you how to give mouth to mouth. Pinch his nose closed and completely cover his mouth with your mouth. You're going to blow 2 regular breaths into his lungs, about 1 second each. Just enough to make the chest rise with each breath.
Okay.
Battalion 3111, all units responding to the structure fire on A Street. Multiple reports. AMR's been started for a possible party trapped. Listen carefully. I'm going to tell you how to do chest compressions. Make sure he's flat on his back on the ground.
Engine 3176.
Engine 3176 pairs. Place the heel of your hand on the breastbone in the center of the chest, right between the nipples. Push down about 2 inches deep. Pump the chest hard and fast 30 times, at least twice per second. Let the chest come all the way up between pumps. Tell me when you're done.
Yes, I'm doing it.
Copies rescue mode and request for 2 additional engines and a breathing support. Okay, start counting out loud with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep going. Do you understand me so far?
Yes, I understand you.
With your hand under his neck, you're going to pinch the nose closed. Carefully tilt the head back again. Give 2 more regular breaths, then pump the chest 30 more times. Make sure the heel of your hand is on the breastbone in the center of the chest, right between the nipples. Do you understand me?
Yes, I understand you.
Battalion 3111 on scene, assuming A Street IC. I have a single-story, single-family residence with heavy smoke and fire through the roof. 1 party unaccounted for. Engine 3176 is assumed rescue mode.
Battalion 3111, Paris copies, assuming the A Street IC.
Paris, A Street IC, request RSO, Edison, and the gas company.
Alexis, can you start RSO and utilities for the A Street incident?
Paris, A Street IC.
A Street IC, Paris.
Are we able to
From
pause
now
there,
on, you're gonna give
Sabdi?
2 breaths, then 30 pumps.
We able to
2
pause
breaths,
there?
Then 30.
So again, you can see the processing. And first, I want to acknowledge how incredible that the men and women in our public safety communication centers, both the law enforcement and the fire side, dealing with those calls. On the fire department side, we're on track to run over 300,000 calls in the next 10 plus years. And that might even be sooner than that. We hit over 200,000 calls for our fire department this year alone. So when we talk about, again, that staffing and the things that you don't see, in order to provide that level of service required additional dispatchers.
Chief,
yes,
if I
sir.
can, she did an excellent job of giving CPR instructions and first aid. But with that would be an additional cost, right? Because if they're providing that service on dispatch, they also have to be trained and maintain that, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, yeah.
Yep, we had to send them to training, and then their quality, their CQI process on the back end of it, it's probably the most rigorous that I've seen in their compliance. And it took a number of years to get that compliance up so that we could become an accredited dispatch center. So with that, we most recently became an accredited dispatch center. We're the 13th in California, the 340th in the nation, and then the first in all of the CAL FIRE system. So with that accreditation, I'd like to kick it over to Chief Fish, who can talk about why that's important and some of the decisions that that's going to make us or allow us to make as a fire department.
So first of all, the accreditation threshold is very difficult, as exemplified by the fact that there's only 340 in the nation and only 13 here in California. The primary piece that it allows us to do, it allows us to provide more nuance in our dispatches. So historically, if you go back 20 years ago, when you called 911 for a medical emergency, you got the same response regardless of the acuity level. In today's world, because of the excellent interrogation and process that our dispatchers go through, they can actually drill down and we can provide nuance to our responses based upon a high level of accuracy, determining is this an urgent critical call or is this a non-urgent, non-life-threatening call? And we can modulate our response so that we're sending lights and sirens with multiple units, or sometimes it will be ambulance only, sometimes it will be a code 2 fire engine. So we can provide more nuance. And what that nuance provides us is the ability to take the resources here in the city and use them in a more effective and efficient way. What that does in the long run is it reduces the need for you to staff additional equipment to meet your growing population and duplicate calls, because the optimal outcome is the right units are available for the critical calls, while the less critical calls are being dealt with in a less urgent way. This allows for a lot more capability out of the same group or pool of resources. Additionally, it allows us to enter into a program called nurse navigation, where we are actually providing nurse care to calls that are non-urgent or non-life-threatening calls. So you call 911, it's not a life-threatening or a EMS necessary response. Through that very deliberate triage system, we can now, instead of initiating a 911 response, send those calls to a nurse, and the nurse can intake the call and help the caller by sometimes it's getting them an appointment with their regular doctor, getting them to a pharmacy, getting them to an urgent care. Sometimes it'll turn into an ambulance-only response. If at any time the patient wants a fire department response, they transfer the call back to us and we initiate it. But again, what we're trying to do is provide off-ramps out of the expensive 911 system for patients that don't need 911, so that the patients that do, those resources are available. That's only available to us because we're an accredited center. So the effort and the amount of training and quality assurance that staff does allows us to perform at that high level.
Most advanced agencies of many. So obviously, I'm not surprised because you're the lead. But you're also teaching other agencies within California, or not as of yet?
Teaching-wise, so this is a program that use, I guess reframe your question because I'm not sure what you're asking.
Pretty much the training capabilities of what the demonstration that was given to the rest of council. Mm-hmm. That is going to be eventually standard operating procedure for dispatchers, number one.
There was legislation that was passed this past year that requires all primary and secondary PSAPs, depending on the system, and there's some nuance to this, so I'm kind of giving a broad overview. Yeah. But to provide pre-arrival instructions, which is the CPR instructions, for 7 specific determinants or 7 specific conditions: cardiac arrest, drowning, bleeding control, birth instructions. Those are some of the basic ones. There's others as well. But all centers will be required. There's still a lot of questions on how that will be implemented. Fortunately for us and for you, we've already accomplished that and are performing it at the highest level in the industry.
And that's, again, because how advanced CAL FIRE has become. The other one is, besides CAL FIRE in Riverside County, other cities that are doing the same thing now, Riverside, Corona, are they at that level, or they're still in training?
No, currently we're only ones that are at that level, though Marietta and Riverside City are currently applying and seeking accreditation. So they're in the process, but we've been accredited 2 years now?
2 years.
2 years, yeah, 2 years.
Oh, good.
It all flies by really quick, so it kind of blends together.
I know that a lot of the agencies look up to CAL FIRE as a model because, like I said, that's what's been good about it.
Well, we do our absolute best to provide you world-class fire department services.
Sorry, I know that there's a lot to unpack here. So I'll move to our fleet services. This is the Schedule F in your AO 17 and your cooperative agreement in billing. So our fleet service is really the backbone of the fire department operations. It ensures that every fire engine, truck, squad is safe, it's reliable, and it's ready to respond at a moment's notice. As you see there at the bottom, in the Riverside County system, the total apparatus maintained are 592, and our total repair hours, when I pulled this report in October, was 17,047. This offers a scalable and redundant fleet management program. Our service technicians are available to us 24 hours a day, 365 days a week. If you're having a brake issue on Christmas Day, it is a simple phone call, and a mechanic will be out to one of our fire stations to address that problem so that we can keep the fire engines on the road. If we can't keep the fire engine on the road, again, part of that system that you're paying for ensures that you will always have a working and reliable fire engine. If we can't get that item fixed on Christmas Day, we take that fire engine out of service, and then we can bring in a reserve engine. If that reserve fire engine breaks, we send that one to the shop, and then we bring in another fire engine. If that one breaks, we continue to play this game so that we ensure that the city of Indio always has a working fire engine in their stations.
Now, currently, the apparatuses that are in service, is the fire engines are in a lease agreement?
Yes, sir.
And how many fire truck engines do we have in Indio assigned?
So one in every fire station, plus you have one reserve that is assigned to the battalion as well.
So four full-time duty each one of our stations, because we need an engine.
Yes, sir.
Plus one reserve.
Correct.
And then the other apparatuses that we have, the ambulances, support vehicles, those are all city-owned. But we're mandated to have a reserve for the ambulance service.
Correct. Okay. So the ambulances are city-owned. So is the ladder truck. However, we provide the maintenance on the ladder truck.
Of course, you have the shop here, and that's been a big advantage for Indio, is having the second shop here, plus your mobile mechanics, which is, I always thought that was a cool job for what they do.
Yeah.
If you've seen them, they're a big white rig, and they have everything there. So, and they'll come on site to do whatever you're doing. So.
Yeah, it's a great program, and again, that scalability and redundancy. These fire engines are becoming more and more complex. I remember when I started, which really wasn't that long ago, we still rode in open cab fire engines. Now the new ones come with stability control and airbags, and if you turn the steering wheel too hard, it automatically slows itself down. With that technology comes increased costs, but it also comes increased problems and maintenance. So again, some of the non-tangible things that you don't see every single day were the additional fleet staff that we had to bring on so that we can maintain this number of apparatus. As you saw with the Palisades incident and the number of fire engines that were out of service just sitting in a yard, we fortunately do not have that problem in Riverside County because of our fleet team that we have. Now, we are having challenges, as I've mentioned, with the cost, and I'm sure that you've seen some of the congressional oversight that's happening as our apparatus manufacturers have consolidated, which is driving up the costs. And it's, if you were to purchase a new ladder truck today, you're looking at 4 years before you actually receive that. But again, those are being addressed through the legislative bodies and with congressional oversight, trying to reduce that time frame. Communications, information, and technology, this is a huge one for us. So similar to our mechanics, we have a team of communications and IT professionals. They provide all of the software that we need to do our jobs. They provide the 24/7 help desk, technical support, communications. If you're having a repeater issue or you're starting to run into problems with communication, we have personnel that are available 24/7 to bring them out and help troubleshoot that. We've used them recently with some of the PSEC repeaters that all of our partners are using for radio communications in Riverside County. During Hurricane Helen, we were actually using our bulldozer to clear out the road so that we can get communications technicians up there to maintain the repeaters and keep that vital link together for all of Riverside County. The next schedules are hazardous materials. So again, it is a portion of what you're paying into the cooperative agreement to ensure that you have a Type 1 hazardous materials unit. That unit is capable of chemical, biological, radiological disasters. They have all of the tools and equipment to successfully mitigate those emergencies. That team is extremely expensive, and the equipment that they have. So again, with the hazmat team, you're paying into battalion chief, 3 fire captains, fire apparatus engineers, firefighter 2s, and then all of the equipment that comes on that very specialized apparatus there. So while I said that Riverside County does not maintain an administrative rate, the state of California does. So all of those pieces that we just went through, all of those schedules make up your cost allocation plan. The state of California does have an administrative pass-through. It's the state pro rata. It currently sits at 10.77%. And these are all of the things that fee goes into. It funds 797 positions statewide. So I'm sure up on the dais you're wondering, well, why do we need those positions for the city of Indio? That is all the administrative support that goes all the way up to the state of Sacramento. So when we talk about labor relations offices, and when we talk about state personnel board, PERB, when we do disciplinary action, and when we have an EEO complaint, all of those things are handled within the contract, and those costs are not passed on to the city of Indio or to the contract partners. It provides the finance personnel. It provides the mechanics on the state side of things, as well as you'll see one in there where it talks about like regional and field support. Well, construction and facilities, what does that have to do with the city of Indio? The county fire department headquarters in Paris is actually at a state facility. So that's why a portion of that goes to our state maintenance folks. Same thing at our region and our Sacramento headquarters. So that's how that pass-through works and why it exists. Historically, there's a lot of questions on the state admin fee. Again, this is just a high-level snapshot. If there's additional, I'd be happy to answer those at a later time. So now looking at some of the benefits, there's limited to no unfunded pension liability. The hold harmless agreements between the County of Riverside as well as the City of Indio. When we do damage to equipment, that hold harmless agreement protects you and it indemnifies you so that we are absorbing those costs, not specifically the City of Indio. And when we talk about the Labor Relations Office, negotiations, discipline, PERB, SPB, all of those costs are absorbed through that administrative fee and are not passed on to you as the partner, or you also don't have to deal with it. You don't have to sit through our contract negotiations and our labor agreements. OSHA citations and liability. So the department, CAL FIRE specifically, if there is an administrative citation from OSHA that is issued due to improper following policy procedure, whatever OSHA might cite us for, the department takes that liability. That is not passed on specifically to the City of Indio. And it also ensures equitable participation in the regional resources. So again, rather than having to have your own hazardous materials unit or your own breathing and light support unit, you pay a portion of one that we all share as partners. So I know that this is where a lot of the focus on is the look into the future. What does the future look like, especially as you're going into your contract renewal in 2026? So we have some knowns and we have a lot of unknowns, and we can obviously speak about the knowns that we know that are on the horizon. We know that labor is actively negotiating the industry standard work week, which is a 56-hour work week. Specifically, what that means to the City of Indio is if they're successful in that, you would need to add 3 additional full-time equivalent positions to bring you out to the 3.0 staffing across the entire department within Indio. Apparatus. We know that we're adding at least 1 heavy rescue, if not several. The goal of that is to reduce the redundant equipment that is carried on the ladder trucks, as well as some of that training, so that we are sharing the cost regionally and not specific to those partners that have the ladder trucks. We do know that there's some stability and support that are coming. We know that CalPERS is anticipated to level off. It's been very volatile the last couple of years. The reports that we're getting back is they're anticipating a flattening out period where we won't see these big spikes. The other thing that we're realizing within the fire department is the PEPR reform. We are starting to see the legacy CalPERS members retire, and we have the PEPR reform, which obviously, as you know, reduces the overall cost for those pension and benefits. We know that we're going to have some safety and some compliance challenges. We know that under NFPA that we are going to be required to maintain and track the cleaning of our PPE. So that's going to come with additional software and additional personnel where we actually have to send our turnouts out to a cleaning company that will do these advanced cleanings and then return them to us. So we know that there's going to be some increased cost complying with these regulatory agencies.
Chief?
Yes, sir.
Speaking on that, you said your PPE tracking and cleaning. What does your PPE entail? Like, because you're speaking fire language and we don't know. And so,
very good. Yeah, so our PPE, so when we talk about our turnouts, so that'd be your turnout coat, your bottoms, your structure helmet, the liner within that helmet, the self-contained breathing apparatus that you wear on your back, those are up for replacement. On the wildland side, it would be your Nomex jacket, your web pack that you wear that carries your hydration and your fire shelter and some of your tools. Those are when I mention PPE, those are the specific items, the turnouts, the jacket, the coat, the helmet, the SCBAs that we're going to be required with that advanced cleaning.
Chief, just more of a learning curve. That's just not being mandated for CAL FIRE. It's being mandated for all fire agencies in the state of California
Correct.
because of the lobbying of the health hazards that they've been counting. It's no longer just wood, it's everything else that they end up in. It gives them their health issues.
Yeah, so when we look at the modern fire environment, and we look at everything in this room, as opposed to, say, the World War II era where it was cotton and they were, things were made out of wood. Everything in this room is a synthetic. It is essentially a compressed oil that is, morphed into wood. And so what we're seeing is our firefighters are at a 400% increase of cancer. And it's due to the products of combustion and the environment that we operate in. And so through these regulatory agencies, they are now going to mandate this advanced cleaning. I'm going to look to my team. Do you remember when we got the second set of turnouts? It hasn't been that long. 4 or 5 years. So 4 or 5 years ago, we were kind of leaders of the pack where we went to a second set of turnouts. So after a structure fire, you could throw one in the washer and then wear a fresh set. Well, all those years prior, if you're working a 10-day stretch and you caught a structure fire on your first day, you wore those dirty turnouts for 10 plus days and just soaked in it. So again, these are all steps that we're taking to improve the health and safety of our workforce, but that comes at a cost that you are obviously seeing year after year. The big one when we talk about a look into the future is our standards of cover. And I'd like to kick it over to Chief Fish to talk a little bit about the standards of cover and some of the exciting things that are going to be coming here to the city of Indio that I know that we have talked about through, again, those various conversations with the increases and what that looks like.
April of last year, the county hired Citygate as a consultant firm to assist us with 3 things. One was to evaluate our standards cover, which is a document that basically talks about deployment of fire department resources and to help us plan better for all of the communities that we serve. Additionally, a community risk assessment that goes into each one of our communities and looks at the individual risks so that we can modulate the services that we provide to those individual communities. And then the third piece was to pursue accreditation as a fire department. So we talked about the accreditation for the dispatch center. It is my goal as fire chief to achieve accreditation, which would place the department of which you are a part of amongst the elite fire departments of the nation. And what accreditation essentially is, in simple terms, is measuring yourself against self-imposed standards, creating metrics and evaluating yourself, and then having outside peers come in and validate that those processes are valid and that you're achieving. And what that does is allows us to build a strategic plan over an extended period to identify weaknesses or gaps and address them through not only budgetary processes, but also through changes in our workflows or our workflow processes in order to create efficiencies and to innovate and to ensure that we're staying on the cutting edge of providing services. A portion of that oversight or the standards of cover that we also asked for was we asked the company to evaluate our cost methodology process and provide recommendations on potential improvements or efficiencies that they would see as a third-party outside observers. Again, our goal is to try to bring back to you the best value we can and identify places where we could do things better. So as a component of that, CityGate will be reaching out to each one of our city contracts. So at some point, the city manager here, probably in the next month, is going to receive a phone call asking to set up a meeting and to discuss the fire service experience from the city's perspective so that they can get hopefully an unvarnished version of that. And we can take that input because our goal is to meet our communities where they're at, not where we think they are. And all of the cities have slightly different needs, but we want to serve all of them. And so that's the point of the accreditation and the standards of cover process.
Couple more slides and we'll be asking for questions and some feedback and some direction. I know that there was a concern about planning and how we as a fire department are evolving, and we're looking at the overall impacts and development across the Coachella Valley. One of the tools that was recently developed was a smart map. That map is instrumental to our ability to look across not just city boundaries, but look at the growth of the entire county and making sure that we're right-sizing the infrastructure, the fire department response, that the fire stations are in the correct location, and that we're serving the citizens, and that, again, that the response times are where they're supposed to be, and that our engines are arriving timely. So part of this smart map looks at various layers that staff is able to turn on. So we can look at response times, we can look at population density, we can look at planning cases across the entire fire department to see if another jurisdiction is planning to build, say, 9,000 homes, what does that look like for the city of Indio for a response model if you just so happen to have the closest fire station? That allows us the tools so that we can bring that to staff, so that they can bring that to the council, so that we can have those conversations with our partners to make sure that everybody is equally contributing to the overall regional system. Prior to the Smart Map tool, there were some decisions that were made in silos where we didn't look across some of those jurisdictional boundaries. The team here has done a great job through the fire marshal's office that all of our fire marshals are now speaking across boundary lines, and we're looking at that real holistic approach to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the entire community and just not one within those jurisdictional boundaries. So the next several slides kind of look at some of the screenshots that we're looking at when we talk about, again, the response time and some of the development that's happening in these communities.
Chief, can I ask you a quick question on that?
Yes, sir.
I agree with you. First off, thank you for your presentation. It's amazing. You guys do great work, and it's even more exciting to see the stuff behind the scenes. So you're talking about boundaries, and, you know, I'll just throw it out to like the city of Coachella. You know, ours 86 is right there. They annexed a whole big area. They have one fire station for 40-some thousand people. We know it's coming from 86. How do you help us to get our fair share, if you want to call it, back from Coachella, knowing that our station is going from there to their place? There's no way they're coming from the other side. So you're talking about boundaries. What jurisdiction do you guys have then to look at Coachella or somebody else and say, you know, we're doing 50% of the calls from our station 86 into the city of Coachella, into the tribe, other areas, the county areas? Are they going to pick up the tab, or how does that work with you guys in terms of opportunities? Because as cities around us continue to grow, and La Quinta's got, you know, another station coming in. How do you then say to somebody, I'll just use Coachella, I'm not picking on them, I'm just using an example, is how do you go to Coachella and say, you really need a second station? And if they don't, what jurisdictions do you have? It shouldn't be the city of Indio's responsibility to pick up the tab for somebody else.
So the how is we start with that research and the data in the Statistics Bureau, and we really analyze what those calls look like. Where are they? To your point, this is, I know, some feedback that we've received from council. The reports that we're currently giving you on that weekly are not really hitting the benchmarks that you need to make those decisions. So we have some examples of some different reports that again, these are the tools that we look at to make sure that assumption is correct and that, again, we're validating that data. It's a slippery slope for us. When I first promoted, I wore multiple hats. I was the fire chief for not only Indio, but also Coachella and La Quinta. And so looking at how to right-size those as we're growing the community, I think now, under the fire chief's direction and the team back here, when we look at planning across, again, we're not looking at individual jurisdictions. We're having those conversations with those individual fire chiefs. I know I can speak specifically for Coachella. My partner, Richard Tovar, who's the fire chief for them, we've been looking at this data and the statistics on exactly to your point. He was able to bring that information to the city and bring a paramedic squad online to help offset some of those calls. Our team is reviewing every single plan that comes across the county network now, whether it's Coachella, Indio, La Quinta, the city of Paris, Moreno Valley, and we are cross-communicating to make sure that we're doing the right thing. When those concerns are brought up, I have brought that to the team about your concerns and making sure that we're analyzing the data correctly and we're having those conversations. I looked to my team to see if there's anything else I missed on that one, but we are definitely aware, tracking, and having that conversation.
I give you credit for a lot. You and I have been talking and educating, and I was the one that asked a lot of questions on the data. I'm used to it from the police department, from everything, from the most minor thing to the big thing, because it tells a story on our services, and I get it. The city manager brought up some data, and I'm going to give Councilman Miller the credit because he's the one that said, it's a lot of money we're spending. I've been waiting for this opportunity literally for 13 months, asking and asking and asking and asking and asking. And there was 6 questions that I had the assistance of the city management team that asked specifics because I noticed certain services were going out. That helps me understand better your challenge rather than, well, I don't know, they go there. I also know that we're the primary response to their true tribal neighbors. They need help too, and I get it. They're willing to work with us. The city of La Quinta is willing to work with us. We've been having these conversations for 12 months. When the city manager, when it was Glenn Miller's mayorship, we started meeting. We've been meeting. So I'm glad we're getting the story, but if you think that 12 months is reasonable to wait, then maybe that's, it was just reminded me by Councilmember Ortiz. He goes, well, this is government. Well, this is Indio to me. I have a priority, just like you have a priority. And so 12 months, I appreciate it, but I've been waiting. So when I asked those questions, and I've also posed it before the chief was promoted, before chief became the chief of Riverside County. And I respect his position, but you have to realize I have to worry about here. And I know a little bit, enough to, I guess, ask all these questions. So it helps me. We probably could have gone, I feel that we probably could be at a further rate, but obviously you're creating data that supports action, So I just, I'm really hoping to have some resolution to help that. Because one thing's critical about Indio, I've seen a fire station get closed down, 3 months later come back because the community wants it back. I've also seen a community that we were about ready to close down the ambulance, and the community showed up in fold and said no. So Indio is very sensitive about their fire services. And that's why I react the way I do, because you guys saved me a lot. You saved me in my professional career where I was burnt, second-degree burns, pulling people out of a burning vehicle. I've been there when people have died in front of me, and I've also been there driving the ambulance for the paramedics who are trying to save somebody's life, and they're telling me, you're a city employee, drive the damn thing. So I get it. So I just want the best service that we can give our community. So when I ask these questions, in no disrespect to the firefighters of our community, it's just trying to figure out how can we do this better. So I appreciate the time, I really do.
And I'll take full responsibility for the delay, sir. We've been working with the team to find a dashboard and the metrics that we felt were right. I apologize that the 12 months that has taken too long. But again, we wanted to make sure that we had the right data, the right information, and that it met your needs. I mean, we're still open to feedback. If these graphs, if these are not the tools that you're looking for to help drive your decision, that's why we brought the team here tonight, so that we can take this back to our data decision support team, and we can adjust these so that you are getting those metrics.
I accept what you're doing as a true leader. Thank you. But your men and women really like you. There's not one that's told me they don't like their chief. So I believe that you have a bigger system above you, and I understand that. But so when we ask these questions, it's in the best interest.
Understood. We blew through a bunch of slides on the smart map, but that's, again, very high-level overview. It's difficult for us to manipulate in real time because there's so much information and data that is in that smart map. If you would like to see that tool, we could set up some 2x2 meetings through the city manager, and we'd be happy to demonstrate that in real time, and then information that is specific to the city of Indio if you have questions.
I'd also like to extend an invitation to all of you, individually, collectively, however that would best work for you. I know there's Brown Act issues, but I'd like to invite you to actually come see some of these things in actual use. I'd like you to see our dispatch center and see the professionals. I'd like to show you the infrastructure that you're contributing to and benefiting from. I think when you can actually physically see it and understand it and see it in context, it provides a lot more meaningful foundation for your decision-making for policy.
Does anyone else have any comments or?
Oscar, go ahead.
Nope, he's good.
I guess got a couple quick ones.
Okay.
So all the stuff you give us, top notch. There's nothing, you can't put a price on a life. So, I mean, that's not an issue. I mean, what you're doing, your dispatch, everything you have. With the new staffing, it went from 72 to 66. Now it's going to 56, dropping 10. And how many people did we add the first time when we dropped that? And now you're saying 3 more people. So when we get down to it with raises, with all the agreements, with the PERS and all that stuff, what is it going to cost us, do you estimate, next year compared to that, and the year after, and the year after that? Because it's not the price we put on life, it's trying to figure out how we pay for it is the big thing with us. What we do to make sure that we get your services, because we need it all. Everything that you have works together, it doesn't work at all. So we understand that part of it. But the problem is when it's $1.2 million, $1.4 million, and we're putting in 30, let's say, fast food restaurants, you can't do that every year to keep up with that. And we have other costs. We have raises for our police department, our staff that works hard. So we're trying to figure out how to balance this budget and try and figure out what it is. We know you have an agreement with the state. It really comes down from the governor or whoever that works with it. And we understand why you want to do it, because it is a burnout job. But you also got to understand with us, we know we need your services, but we also got to figure out a way to pay for it. So what do you think next year is going to cost us if we were to change nothing and do the same services today?
So I'd like to turn it over to Deputy Director Diane Sinclair, specific on the costs. However, to answer the question on the positions, to go to the 66-hour work week required 5 FTEs. We added 5 positions. To go to the 56-hour work week will be an additional 3, so a total of 8.
But how do you drop it down 10 hours from 6 hours but put less people? That's what I don't get. You see what I'm saying? You dropped it from 6 hours and you had to have 5 people, and then you dropped it 10 hours, you only have to add 3 people.
It's a complicated math problem
Okay.
that has to do with our shift. So the 72 hour is an anomaly in the fire service industry.
Days?
3 days, 4 days off.
Yeah,
So the traditional fire department job is either a single day with 2 days off in between, or a 48-hour day with 96 off. So it's a math problem that we had to get to enough bodies to cover that gap. The gap isn't as large, even though the number is different. And I'd have to show it to you on paper, but it's.
Completely get it now. When you're
Trust
talking
me, it was
24 got a lot
complicated
of friends
for
that
us as well.
firefighters. Got it. Yep. That part.
Diane.
Crayons will help.
Diane Sinclair, Deputy Director of Administration for Fire.
Red crayon.
For next fiscal year, We actually do not anticipate the 56-hour work week to to be enacted. We're actually anticipating it to be flat to what it is this year. We'll obviously probably have some PERS increase. We haven't received that information from CAL FIRE as of yet. We're expecting it this month in February. That's when we usually get those percentages and we can start putting all that information together. But we are not expecting any spike for next fiscal year. That's what we've reported to our own executive office, and that's what we're going to be communicating to our city partners. We have a city partner that meeting this week, and we'll be communicating that at that time. But the 56 is probably going to be the year after that. But again, it's all dependent on the state's budget too. So the state could easily hold those things off or push it off another year. It's just their negotiations.
So other than PERS, our rates should be flat this next year.
Generally speaking, that's what we're getting. I just don't have the exact.
I'm not going to hold you to it. I'm just trying to figure out. So we're talking minimal increase, not the $1.2 million, $1.3 million that we
No,
had.
we don't anticipate that unless there's some crazy thing that they approve when they're negotiating and retro it. But I just don't see that with where the state's at right now.
Thank you.
Okay, good information to have, yes, good.
Just have one little tidbit. So the police department finally, after, I guess, a wish and a prayer, finally has the Opticon system in majority of the fleet. And I'd like you to strongly consider that our fire marshal put in a policy in every new development that has a gate. I think we need to start doing it, because that'll save us with locks, knocks, keys, the nightmare, and it helps with, the pitch I was doing for a while is, how long it takes for that firefighter to open the gate if they have to jump off the rig? And then it'll give you 3 minutes, and 3 minutes means a lot when you're having a heart attack. So, and the only reason I mention this is because my good friend over here reminded me about a life, and I think every single development that we can put that system in place, our police and fire will have it. And I think it's a good thing to do, because the fire code will still require having the locks, knocks, keys regardless. But it saves us another thing. We forgot to close the gate after we cleared the scene, so.
To answer that question is your very own Fire Marshal, Matthew Griffith.
Good evening, everybody. Just to let you know, sir, that is a policy and that we do that. We have been for the last several years on new developments, as well as my inspectors go out and educate existing developments. And we've actually had a handful of them install it on their own, like retroed.
But I mean, a policy for Indio, would it be under your current fire code? We just are adopting it, or, because I know there's a couple of elements they haven't, and I'm just assuming we just haven't adopted it. So when Brian is looking at all our plans, our director of planning, it's in place, because those 3 minutes mean a lot. I don't know.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, any other comments? Mayor Pro Tem, no? Thank you for an enormous effort and helping us understand all the different pieces and parts to this. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. And it's nice to know that next year we'll be able to take a little bit of a breather. It would be very helpful. Thank you. I look forward. I personally, I don't know about everybody else thinks, but I think, maybe once every 6 months or something, maybe every 6 months we could have an update from you guys. I think that might be a huge benefit for all of us here on council to understand what's new, what's changing, and some basic statistics. So.
I just want to say thank you for your presentation.
It's huge.
A lot, but very thorough, and it made sense. And so we appreciate it. And like many in the community, I've used fire, and they've come out asthmatic. They come out to put out a little fire when my kids started. But the service is top notch, and I appreciate it. Our community does. And I would just put it out there, go visit these guys at a department, sit down, have dinner with them. I watched Super Bowl a couple years ago with one of them, and you get to learn about what they actually do. I don't think the community actually understands how in depth a fire it really is until you talk to these guys. So I appreciate it, and girls, I appreciate it.
Okay, well, I don't think there's any action. This was a presentation. So again, thank you very much. And also, we appreciate you. I think we need to say that. We appreciate you and what you do for every single resident and business in our community. We appreciate you very, very much. I know that I'm just a small microcosm of the community. I live up near Terralago, and that fire station and all the people from Four Seasons in Terralago like to go down and talk to the team there, and they are super friendly. But I tell you, it means the world to that community, and I'm sure it means the world to other parts of our city. So thank you very, very much. And on that note, we need to move on to item number 13, public comments for items not on the agenda. City Clerk, do we have a speaker?
Yes, ma'am. We have Daryl Bellows.
Okay, Daryl? Welcome. You have 3 minutes for items, public comments. We have a 3-minute timer. Please go ahead.
All right, so Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. warned us in 1963 about the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice. Since our last city council meeting, Mayor Elaine Holmes and Indio Police Chief Brian Tully have doubled down with white moderate attitudes on immigration enforcement, despite escalating violence perpetuated by the institutions that surround our city. After taking time to reflect, Chief Tully used Instagram to respond to our public comments from the last city council meeting. Chief Tully said IPD's role is to protect everybody and emphasize the value of strong relationships built on trust. Unfortunately, this statement is incongruent with how Chief Tully actually feels about our Hispanic Latino residents behind closed doors. At our last city council meeting, we shared an elevator ride to his chamber, or to this chamber. When a community member asked him on the way up about the anti-ICE protesters marching there from Avenue 45 and Jackson Street, Chief Tully replied, "Let's hope they stay peaceful." Translation, our Hispanic Latino residents have a propensity for violence. Bear in mind, the protesters were mostly women, children, and elders, including a child who physically stood up for our civil rights in this chamber until she collapsed. It was right over here. When Chief Tully and I made eye contact in the elevator, I remembered that he's a human being, trying his best to lead IPD. I really thought twice about calling for his resignation until he made that awful comment. Under these circumstances, Chief Tully's racial bias against our Hispanic Latino residents disqualifies him from impartially fulfilling his duties with IPD. Mayor Holmes, neutrality and passivity on immigration enforcement places our 68% Hispanic Latino city in grave danger. If you decide not to resign, like I asked you to last time, you must return to Instagram and tell ICE explicitly to stay out of Indio. I'm not asking for a new ordinance. I'm asking you to tell them to stay out as a symbolic message. Okay? Indio residents are on an island, surrounded on all sides by RCSD Sheriff Chad Bianco and Sector Chief Bovino's racist, overzealous, and anti-Mexican leadership. A year ago, Sheriff Bianco stated his department's aggressive intentions with immigration enforcement. He said, if that involves working with ICE so that we can deport these people that are victimizing us and victimizing our residents, you can be sure that I'm going to do that. When Border Patrol agents murdered Alex Preddy, CBP Commander Greg Bovino said the victims are the Border Patrol agents. The suspect put himself in that position. Now that Bovino is back in his previous post at the El Centro sector, which includes the Indio station 1.6 miles away from this chamber, his threat to our safety is exponential. Mayor Holmes, the need for a clear anti-ICE message is more urgent than ever. If you don't use your platform to tell ICE to stay out of Indio, we'll see Tom Homan, Christy Nome, Greg Bovino, and Chad Bianco's unilateral assault on our civil rights continue to escalate. Thank you.
Okay. And on to, if no one else has any comments, the next item, which is 14, which is we shall adjourn. The next meeting is February 18th at 5 o'clock.